And first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance, and Supervisor Anaya Kirk is going to lead us in that.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Next item on our agenda is oral communications. This is the time that we set aside about 15 minutes for the public to speak on any item not on the printed agenda. No action may be taken by the board on anything presented. So I'm going to limit it to 3 minutes per person. And if anyone would like to make oral communications, please proceed to the podium.
Good morning. Well, I guess if nobody else is going to stand up, I will. So this apparently is Depression Awareness Month. So October 10th is the National Depression Screening Day or something. So I certainly hope our behavioral health department, when they go to the health fair that starts on October 10th, will be doing depression screening in our community.
Hello, Jeff Musio, Hazy Bulldog Farms. Wanted to come in and say that I did see you guys were doing the suicide prevention stuff and some of the depression prevention stuff, and I really commend you guys for that. I really like that you guys are doing that, and if any way Hazy Bulldog Farm can help with that, please reach out. I'd be happy to donate to any of those causes. I didn't quite get to the one on Saturday. I really wanted to, but I had some other issues with my business. And then also, I just wanted to kind of reintroduce to the county that I would love to continue with the talks of cannabis and cannabis businesses. It seems like you guys are kind of on top of your finances again this year, and it seems like you guys have knocked out most of your agenda items for the year. And I just wanted to bring up that when next year comes into play, that I would love cannabis to be a thought. And one of the biggest reasons is I think we need some more jobs in this community. I think we need a little bit more prosperity when it comes to the economics, and I think cannabis is a big leader in that, possibly. So thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you. Any others?
Since I'm the last speaker, we have 15 minutes. I hope I can have 13 minutes of that 15 minutes.
Everybody gets the same amount of time, 3 minutes.
I've been trying to make an appointment with you, Mr. Carl, and I haven't been able to make an appointment with you, so I'm going to bring this to the board. I have an ordinance here. I'd like to give it to the I noticed, Carl, when you were the Mother Lode, or My Mother Lode, you wrote some extensive articles for My Mother Lode, and they're quite interesting. And one of the articles you mentioned that you were interested in reviewing past county ordinances that might not apply today. And this particular ordinance, I think you might want to go over it. I've inherited 100 acres of mineral rights in the Jamestown area, and the last 2 weeks, or the last 2 months, there have been 2 permits issued on the property, a grading permit and a building permit. And the building permit allows these people to set foundations. This is the Valley Vista development. They're proposing 190 lots, and they have 160 conditions on their development, and none of them have been met right now. They're supposed to build a water tank, and they're supposed to hook onto the sewer, but the sewer system isn't even built right now. But right now out there, we have 4 modular homes that have been set on permanent foundations, and I believe that is illegal. And this ordinance that I brought in front of you allows me, it divided the property, it divided the ownership. If the clerk could read the ordinance to you, maybe we can dissect what's going on in the ordinance. Do we have time for the clerk to read that short ordinance?
You've only got a minute left, and we're not going to take action on anything today.
Anyway. I realize that, sir. I'm asking the 4 other supervisors to bring this ordinance to review where we can have a full meeting where we can all talk about it.
I will have staff review the ordinance, and we will consider putting it on a future agenda. That's the best I can do for you today.
Is staff, the other supervisors, if you don't propose it, I would like one of the other four supervisors to put it on.
I will ensure that all the supervisors get a copy of the ordinance.
Okay, so.
Okay, and they can take whatever action. I can't direct another supervisor to do anything.
Okay,
so.
well, right now I think the county is inadvertently condemning my use of my mineral rights by allowing this building to be put on the property.
Okay.
And I think it's a very serious offense. And this ordinance all it allows me to do is be notified 10 days in advance, and that's all I wanted to be notified. But it's 40 years of not notification, but I want to just go back to this use permit and this building permit and forget about that 40 years and just look at today what's going on.
Okay, so we will give this to staff to take a look at, and I will ensure that all the board members have a copy of the proposed ordinance, and we will take what action either staff recommends or any board member wishes to take.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself. My name is Jacob Raymond Barnwright III, and Raymond was given to me.
And your time is up, sir.
Thank you. Raymond was given to me by my grandfather, Ray Epperson, which donated the golf course in Twain Harte, which donated Rotary Field. So we have quite a history in this community, and we'd like to be
and I thank you for
heard.
that.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, any other oral communications? Seeing none, we have a new standard agenda item, and it is staff reports, which are the opportunity for the staff to report on any item that is not on the printed agenda. Again, no action will be taken by the board. It's just a report item. I ask that be put on so that our staff does not take up the public time on oral communications, and the full 15 minutes could be devoted if that was necessary. So are there any staff members at this time that would like to make a staff report?
Good morning, Quincy Yaley with the Community Development Department. I'm here to make two announcements to your board as well as to the public. I'd like to let you know that next week, October 10th and 11th, we will be closing the fourth floor Development Information Center. That's where we issue our building permits, environmental health permits, land use permits, and things of that nature. We do this periodically to assist in the processing of permits that we have in a backlog. Typically in a day, a plans examiner can get through about 4 to 5 permits, as well as serving customers at the counter. When we close those buildings, the building for 2 days, we can get through 60 in 2 days. So it's a very effective way for our staff to make up ground and make sure that we're getting permits out in a timely manner. All field inspections and typical field operations will continue, as well as the third floor will remain open. Public Works and Survey, Solid Waste are located down there. The second announcement I wanted to make is that we're having a change in our staff availability to answer zoning and land use questions. We will have availability on Tuesday and Friday mornings from 9 to noon and Wednesday from 1 to 4. This is typically the counter planner position where folks can come in and ask questions about permits, zoning, and land use. Because we have to change that schedule and shorten the hours, we'll be taking additional measures to provide outreach and information online so that the public can get it in other ways. If anyone has questions, they can contact our department at 533-5633. Thank you.
Thank you, Quincy. Any other staff report? Okay. Seeing none, next item is a consent calendar with the clerk and Supervisor Kirk has asked me to pull item 3 for discussion. So will the clerk of the board please read the consent calendar 1 and 2, 4 through 8.
Minutes of the meeting held on September 16 and September 17, 2019. Approving the revised assistant assessor class specification, accepting the 2019 Equal Employment Opportunity Utilization Plan, adopting the resolution approving a revised Golden State Finance Authority Joint Powers Agreement, approving amendment number 1 to the lease of the CP Sonora for the lease at 19890 Cedar Road for the Tuolumne County Sheriff's Office Patrol and Investigation Division. Approving the letter to support the letter in support of the Tuolumne County Resource Conservation District implementation grant for $1 million to the Sierra Nevada Conservancy for the Cedar Ridge Fuel Reduction Project, and adopting a master resolution that modifies previously adopted resolutions, delegating authority to the recently established Community Resources Agency Director position and replacing it with the Community Development Director and Public Works Director as the authority signature or delegee, whichever is appropriate.
Okay, do I have any public comment on the consent calendar? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion on the consent.
I'll move on consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, I've got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? It's 4-0 with Supervisor Gray absent, and he will be absent all day, so I'm not going to say that every time. Will the clerk of the board please read item number 3?
Consideration of adopting a resolution approving the amendments to the 2017 through 2020 Executive Confidential Compensation Plan.
Good morning, Board of Supervisors. Kimberly Phipps, Human Resources. The item before you today is a resolution that amends the Executive Confidential Compensation Plan. This addresses each area where at will is mentioned in the Executive Confidential Compensation Plan, and it serves two purposes. The first is to update the job titles that are listed as at will to reflect the changes that were made in the adopted budget and the assessor, or the assistant assessor recorder that was just approved on the consent calendar. And then the second thing is it clarifies that elected positions are not considered at will. Are there any questions on that?
Okay. Board questions?
Yeah. So I had it pulled because I know in the memo, I was asking questions about educational pay, deferred compensation pay for the executives. And I also got some emails, people asking questions, which is why I wanted to have it pulled. The purpose of this is just to define the at will.
Yeah.
And then as far as bargaining unit, the benefits and educational pay, deferred compensation, that's all something that will be discussed.
Yeah, this is the existing compensation plan, so these were just language changes.
Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions from the board? Public comment? Bring it back, looking for a motion.
I'll move on to staff recommendation.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Kirk, second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? It is 4-0. Will the clerk of the board please read item number 9?
This is a presentation by the Human Services Agency on its vast array of committed partners for their Innovation, Child, and Family Visitation Center, and on receiving the 2019 California State Association of Counties Challenge Award of Merit.
Good morning. Thank you. Corey Allen with the Social Services Agency. We are here to talk about the innovative practice that we have implemented here in Tuolumne County, known locally as the Child and Family Visit Center. What I first want to do is acknowledge that we have several partners, staff, and volunteers in the room that have been integral in our success. So I want to make sure that we acknowledge that they're here, and I'll be addressing them as well. Your Child Welfare Services Program staff partner with families as they rebuild from violence, abuse, and neglect. Staff must assess safety in a family with a focus on identifying present danger and risk of future harm. When a child is unsafe in their family, then we partner with the family and our community in identifying alternatives. Once this occurs, our job is to quickly support the family to rebuild, and that's to rebuild safe relationships, a sense of self-worth, trust, and most critically, their parent and child bonds. These are disrupted, and it's our job to ensure a place for them to reunify. In January of 2016, families in the child welfare system up to that point, were forced to visit in a space that was a business office, just like one of your own business offices. They came into a space filled with cubicles with social workers moving very quickly, handling critical tasks, and they were expected to visit in a room with a glass window that felt a little bit like a fishbowl. It was incredibly unsupportive of building family bonds, and it certainly didn't assess for what it means to have meaningful time together. At the urging of the staff at the time, Annie Hockett, we came up with some creative solutions, and we partnered with the CIO's office to identify space, and that became the Tuolumne General Campus. And it was behind the campus where we had our long-term care wing. Can I tell you, when we did our first walkthrough, we were petrified at what we were about to embark on. It was green, it was sterile, it was somewhat broken, and our facilities team came together and built an amazing location where families can feel a warm sense of connection. And you know what? We put them right in the middle of the decision making on how that family space would look. We went to the community. We talked to partners like the Center for a Nonviolent Community and looked at the space they created. And we went big and we looked at how can we partner. And what happened is people came knocking on the door and said, how can we help? So a couple of things I want to talk with you about is that we had the Twain Harte Seroptimists that came. They built an entire kitchen so that families can build and create healthy meals. Because when we bond with our kids, don't we do that over a meal? And we couldn't do that in an office. So we have a kitchen now, and the Seroptimists out of Twain Harte were huge in making that happen. The Leadership Tuolumne class of 2015 out of the Chamber of Commerce put together an entire backyard. So what we were able to do was use an existing building, bring in community partners that wanted to help build community, and do this at virtually very little, virtually no cost, no cost to do those things that would be considered extraneous, but are so important for kids to be able to connect and play and thrive. Our belief is that families can grow and change. We believe that partnering with families, they become empowered to acknowledge and share their tools, resources, and skills, which will be used to develop greater skills and resiliency. And that change takes time, and we now have a space where they can do that. Some of the things that we offer through the Visit Center include parenting education, nutrition and food preparation demonstrations. That's in partnership with our SNAP Ed team out of the Public Health Department. And that's a program that helps people take their limited resources for food and turn them into really healthy options. We have nursing staff come on board, mental health case managers, clinicians, AmeriCorps volunteers that do prevention work right on site, transportation, visit monitoring, and visit coaching. We have volunteer opportunities, and so much more. We are so fortunate to have the tireless efforts of your entire Adult, Child, and Family Services team, led by Michelle Clark, our supervisors, social workers, aides, and support staff who believe in this work. Staff from the center site that I want to specifically acknowledge, and some are here today, start with Winter Garcia. She's our office assistant who makes everything run. She organizes all of the transportation, the visit monitoring, and coaching. Laurel Dambacker, here she's in the room, our senior social worker and visitation center coordinator. She meets individually with each family to assess what they believe is most important in their ability to bond. Because, you know, some people want to play outside and some want to cuddle with a book. And she gets down to brass tacks and finds out exactly what's meaningful to them. Crystal Navarez, our AmeriCorps member, she comes to us understanding the child welfare system because she lived it as a child and as an adult. And now she partners with our families. She's there every day. I wanted her to be here today, but she's got her kids and was not able to make it. We have Ashton Gunn. She's in the room today. She's our foster care liaison. She makes sure that your resource parents and your biological parents are bonding and connecting, because nothing is worse than a child having to go hand to hand from one parent to the other and not know if they like one another or trust one another. And that's Ashton's job. Good job, Ashton. Jen Marcocha, Caitlin Wright, our trained visitation coaches, and our visit monitors, Brent Anderson, Tina Waltz, Melanie Garcia, Kristen Bull, Kathy Canepa, Michelle Davis, Pam Elliott, Vivian Goldstein, Sandy Lee, Madison Malaya, and with us here, Pam Oraba. And our newest member of our team, who I will introduce now, Jenny Day, supervisor of the Visitation Center.
Hi, good morning, members of the board. My name is Jenny Day. I'm the newest member to this group. I'm the new supervisor stationed at the Visitation Center. Just to give you a little bit of perspective, I've learned so much in my 1 month there already, but when the center first opened, it started with 3 families being monitored there at the center. We now currently work with 14 families there every single week. They range in their abilities and their supports, but we closely monitor 6 families and we moderately monitor 8. We are open 8 to 6 every day, well, Monday through Friday, with activities throughout each day, and we host up to 95 hours of visitation per week and 380 hours per month. At the center, as Corey mentioned, families prepare healthier meals, they do homework together, they play games, they build community connections with each other and with our resource partners there at the center. Just to also give you an idea, through our parenting classes, we have had, just this year alone, 111 parents participate in our parenting classes. We use an adult-adolescent parenting inventory to assess their parenting skills and knowledge when they first join, and also we do a post-test. We've seen a 32% increase in their scores over this year. We have also seen an increase in our families who have benefited from our prevention services through our differential response program. Over the 17-18 year, we had 26% of our referrals accept our services. That has now increased to 41%. Our visit coaches are currently working with 17 families where they work one-on-one with them before each visit and also after each visit to coach the parents through communicating with their children, identifying their needs, and working through their problems and barriers. Overall, we have a increase in our family reunification rate also. So in 2018, 50% of the families working with child welfare services that were participating in our visitation, 50% reunited with their children. As of 2019, we are running at about an 82% success rate of families reuniting with their children. So this is an amazing center. It's an amazing group of people who truly care about their work, and I'm very privileged to be a part of it. So Pam, did you want to share some of what you did? I'm going to introduce Pam Orbaugh. She has been involved with the center through AmeriCorps, through a community healthcare worker, and also participated in Leadership Tuolumne County.
Thank you, Jenny, and I'd like to thank the board for the time this morning. So my involvement in Tuolumne County's social services, child welfare services is very multi-layered. I participated as an AmeriCorps volunteer focusing on prevention and family rebuilding. I also work at Center for a Nonviolent Community, so I bring that layer of prevention work to Tuolumne County's child welfare services, and I am continuing on as a community health worker. And I want to explain why I am so involved in our services. I am someone who benefited from Tuolumne County's child welfare intervention as a child. I grew up in a difficult environment, and I definitely think it was part of our community's resources and intervention that is what set me on my path today and my ability to give back. I have the luxury of working on the weekends, so I get to sustain a much more prolonged relationship with the families I work with than your average community health worker. I've been working with 2 young girls and their father who successfully completed rehab for about 4 months. I've gone to their soccer games. I've been there when they transitioned in different communities. When they run into me in the store, they come up, they hug me, they tell me about their day. And I just want to underscore that there is a vast network of incredibly committed people who are showing up because they care about rebuilding families. They believe in these families, and the work we're doing is having positive benefit in the community. And I just really hope that you understand that it takes a village, and we have an amazing village. Thank you.
As you can see, I feel very fortunate to work with this team. So with that, I just wanted to let you know how we appreciate that the California State Association of Counties has offered us the Merit Award in the category of Health and Human Services in rural counties for this innovative program model. And with that, if you have any questions, and look forward to where we head in the future. I mean, we'll be embedding our new Road to Resilience program right there on site.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this before? I know the board's going to comment. But okay, bring it back. Start with, you got any comments, Anaya?
I was just reading over it. It said that there are 284 entries, which was some of the most that they've had, and then the panel of experts goes through this. So obviously it's an awesome award. I like that you said there was little to no cost. The village, I get that completely. 122 visits per week. I know at the state level with corrections, they're big on evidence-based practices, and we had a big change in our policies the last couple of years for visiting, specifically with families, because of the effects that it has. So I know it's good. I know it has some awesome effects. And, I was looking at our priorities. One of the external priorities is the vulnerable populations. And so that's your bread and butter. That's what you guys do. So just job well done, and congratulations on the award. And thank you guys for caring and for doing what you do. Tuolumne County is a special place. So.
Thank you, Supervisor Kirk.
Supervisor Campbell.
Yeah, I mean, this is where the rubber meets the road, people. This is where community outreach and the efforts of social services in your group have direct impact on the quality of life in our community, and the effects of what you're doing now will be seen over generations. It's extremely hard and sometimes heartbreaking work that you feel like you're running through sand. But like I said, the true impacts of what you're doing now won't be seen for 20 years. And what you're doing is you're building trust between these families and social services. You're rebuilding families and breaking the generational impacts of dependency and abuse that build up over time. And it's very hard work to do, and I really applaud you for doing that, and also for repurposing that building. I mean, if we can, man, I hope we can fill the rest of TGH now that we've got such a great use for the extended care. And I've walked through there, and it's fantastic. Every time I've been there, I want to just hang out. You've got
That's
great
exactly what we
couches
aim for.
Yeah. And so I can see how it's a great environment for families to reconnect and in a secure and in controlled environment that excludes any kind of other outside influences that might be impacting their lives. So truly, thank you for the work that you do, and it's being felt now, but really the true effects will be seen as the kids that you're dealing with grow up and they go to school and they become successful like Pam has. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Campbell.
Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, so Miss Allen, I was trying to think, I think 4 years ago, walked through the site, then in Connolly, and when it was just an open space and a vision from the department that was so exciting, and just you could feel the enthusiasm. And Supervisor Kirk mentioned, it's on our priorities about vulnerable populations. This is something that is a result of us acknowledging the need to invest in vulnerable population for several years. And I was there at the grand opening, and been back and to see the work that is going on and the success. And we don't talk about it very often. And so did it surprise me that CSAC awarded you, you got the Challenge Award of Merit? No, it didn't surprise me at all, because this is an example. This is an example of how when we create partnerships, how we bring all of the interested parties in, we actually accomplish something that is so meaningful for our community and that makes a difference. And so this is something that I'm just so proud of the team and the commitment to getting this work done. And again, congratulations, and please share our congratulations with the entire team. And go Tuolumne County.
Thank you,
Amazing.
Supervisor Brennan. The staff is actually watching or plan to watch on Granicus later. They will see and hear your message.
Okay, so I'm our county's board member on the board of directors for CSAC, and I am so proud of what you all have done. Tuolumne County's only 50,000 residents, but we have programs in this county, and this one is a shining example of them. But we have other programs as well that are models for counties that are 5, 10, in some cases 20 times our size. I'm just, I thanked at the CAO staff meeting yesterday. I thanked all of the directors for everything that everybody does. This is such a classic example of how Tuolumne County does business in an exceptional way. I want to congratulate you folks, especially for your innovation, creativity, and passion to come up with this. Okay, this is not something that you pull out of a operations manual or something somewhere. This was an idea that came out of probably some collective heads, okay? And it is serving as an example for the entire state of California. And I think you should be very justifiably proud of yourselves. This is an awesome award, and congratulations. And before I stop talking, I would like everybody that's associated with this to please stand up so our public can see you. Don't be bashful. No, come on, there's more. Okay. And thank you very much, not just for the award, for achieving, then the achievement, for what you do every single hour of every single day. Thank you very much. Congratulations. Okay, would the clerk of the board please read item number 10?
This is consideration of adopting a resolution proclaiming October 6th through 12th, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week in Tuolumne County.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name's Andrew Murphy. I'm the Assistant Fire Chief for County Fire, and I wanted to bring a resolution again to the board this year. Every year, the National Fire Protection Association commemorates the Great Chicago Fire of 1871 that killed over 250 people and destroyed over 17,000 structures and left 100,000 homeless. And they do that by the Fire Prevention Week. So this year, again, the Tuolumne County Fire Department and fire agencies throughout the nation are teaming up with the NFPA to promote this year's Fire Prevention Week campaign. Not every hero wears a cape. Plan and practice your fire escape. And this campaign is meant to educate everyone about the small but important actions they can take to keep themselves and those around them safe. The NFPA says in a typical home fire, and firefighters know this, in a typical home fire you may have as little as 1 to 2 minutes to escape safely from the time the smoke alarm sounds. Escape planning and practice can help you make the most out of the time you have, giving everyone enough time to get out. And just countless stories of that happening. And it's not just home fires, it's wherever you are. Chief White says, no matter where you are, look for available exits. If the alarm sounds, take it seriously and exit the building immediately. So as I mentioned, the theme again, and you'll see some material on the dais and on the back for the public and on the wall here. Not every hero wears a cape. Plan and practice your fire escape. So the Tuolumne County Fire Department is hosting a series of open houses and Fire Prevention Week activities over the week of October 6th through 12th. And we'll be in conjunction with Groveland Community Services District and CAL FIRE, a public service and safety day on Sunday, October 6th from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock at Mary Lavaroni Park. And then to close out the week on October 12th from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock at 3 of the county fire stations, Station 51 on Hillsdale Drive in Sonora, Station 58 in Cedar Ridge on Q and Mill Road, and Station 76 in Jamestown on 4th Avenue. So the Tuolumne County Fire Department, Groveland Community Services District, and CAL FIRE We'll be conducting public outreach during this time to emphasize the need for residents to be prepared and responsive to the threat of a structure fire. Activities at the above venues will include meeting local firefighters and emergency responders, touring the fire stations, and interactive kids activities. And the public can go to firepreventionweek.org and readyforwildfire.org, as well as contacting any of the local fire agencies. If you'll indulge me, I'll read the resolution.
Be my guest.
Thank you. I'll just read one whereas. So this is a consideration of adopting a resolution proclaiming October 6 through 12, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week in Tuolumne County. Whereas the County of Tuolumne is committed to ensuring the safety and security of all those living and visiting in the county, and U.S. fire departments responded to 363,000 home fires in 2018, according to the National Fire Protection Association. And home fires killed 2,720 people in the United States in 2018, representing the majority, or 78% of all U.S. fire deaths, causing 12,700 injuries, resulting in over $8 billion in property loss. That's B with a B, billion. And newer homes are built with lightweight materials that burn faster than older home constructions. And many of today's products and furnishings produce toxic gases and smoke when burned, making it impossible to see and breathe within moments. And these conditions contribute to a much smaller window of time for people to escape a home safely, with people having as little as 1 to 2 minutes to escape from the time the smoke alarm sounds. And a home fire escape plan provides a skill set and know-how to quickly and safely escape a home fire situation. And a home fire escape plan includes 2 exits from every room in the home, a path to the outside from each exit, smoke alarms in all required locations, and a meeting place outside where everyone in the home will meet upon exiting. And home fire escape plans should be developed by all members of the household, and practicing a home fire escape plan twice a year ensures that everyone in the household knows what to do in a real fire situation. And Tuolumne County's first responders are dedicated to reducing the occurrence of home fires and home fire injuries through prevention and protection education. And Tuolumne County residents are responsive to public education measures and education measures, and can take personal steps to increase their safety from fire, especially in their homes. And the 2019 Fire Prevention Week theme, Not Every Hero Wears a Cape, Plan and Practice Your Fire Escape, effectively serves to educate the public about the vital importance of developing a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practicing twice a year. Now therefore be it resolved that the Tuolumne County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim the week of October 6 through 12, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week throughout the county, and urge all the people of Tuolumne County to develop a home fire escape plan with all members of the household and practice it twice a year, and to participate in the many public safety activities throughout Tuolumne County during Fire Prevention Week.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this item?
Well, I appreciate that. Not only are we doing a resolution, they are actually going to do something and reach out and educate the public. So I applaud you for that.
Okay. Bring it back to the board. Before I do that, marketing experts tell me that repetition is a good thing. So why don't you tell us about those 2 events again and where they are and what time?
Absolutely. So to open the Fire Prevention Week on Sunday, October 6th, from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., at Mary Laveroni Community Park in Groveland, next to the fire station at 18930 Highway 120 in Groveland. That's a community public service and safety day. And to close out the week on Saturday, October 12th, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Fire Prevention Week and activities and open house at the 3 county fire stations. Station 51 at Mona Village at 19500 Hillsdale Drive in Sonora. Station 58 at Cedar Ridge at 24190 Kewen Mill Road in Sonora. And Station 76 Jamestown at 18249 4th Avenue in Jamestown.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, bring it back to the board for any comments, questions, or a motion, or a motion.
Comment.
Go ahead.
So, in the interest of a shameless plug, I understand this is really about fire prevention, and the escape routes and all of those very, very important things. But you did also mention readyforwildfire.org. And I cannot count the people that attended our open houses this spring. And when I asked them, do you have your go bag ready? Are you prepared? Well. And so, a shameless plug. Please, please listen to what the experts are telling us. Be prepared. Be prepared in your home. Be prepared in the event of a wildfire. Again, we're at the end of the season. It's cooling off, and a number of folks think that the threat is over. Some of the worst experiences that we've had with wildfires occur in the late fall. And so please don't relax. Don't think that the threat still does not exist. It does. Be prepared.
Yeah, and I'll just say that we tend to think of wildfires as being the big threat in the county, which it is. But structure fires still happen in our county, just like anywhere else, and we've seen actually some pretty significant ones over the summer. So being safe within your own home is of just as much importance as being prepared for a large-scale wildfire. And I will say that at the start of, in the past 3 years, I have witnessed the level of education for your average citizen increasing to where now they know what ingress egress routes are. They know what a go bag is. Whereas if you had said, "Do you have your go bag?" 3 years ago, most people would say, "What's a go bag?" So that it's the effects of the outreach that you've been undertaking really are having an effect. So it's been good to see.
Supervisor Kirk.
I'll just make it quick because the other supervisors have touched on it all. But yeah, to me, it's all about personal responsibility. Some of these people show up to these meetings and they complain, and then you say, "Well, do you know your safe zones? You know your egress routes? Have you packed?" Well, no. Well, we're not going to do that for you. You need to do that. So again, the level of awareness has gone up a lot. There's still more work to do, but thank you guys for what you do. And just, again, take personal responsibility for your home, for your family, and have a plan, work the plan, and if there's a problem, fix it. So, thank you.
Yeah, I would just say that, if a fire breaks out in your house, the firefighters are probably not going to save your life because by the time they get there, that piece of the puzzle is pretty much over, okay? Unless you live right next door to the fire station. You need to be able to get out. So my dad used to say, God helps him who helps himself. So we're trying to give you the tools. Our county fire is CAL FIRE is trying to give you the tools. But all we can do is give them to you. If you don't use them, then it's on you. But this is a very important week. If I could, I would have declared it Fire Prevention Year in Tuolumne County. So we're down to a week. Maybe we can use that as a jumping off point for Fire Prevention Month in Tuolumne County. But I appreciate the resolution, and I am looking for a motion.
So I will proudly proclaim October 6th through 12th, 2019 as Fire Prevention Week in Tuolumne County, and thank the troops. They're out there doing this work, and please share our gratitude.
Thank you.
Okay, got a motion?
Second.
Got a second. Supervisor Brennan moved. Supervisor Campbell seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? 4-0. Go forth and continue to do great things.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 11?
Consideration of adopting a resolution proclaiming October 5th through 11th, 2019 as National 4-H Week in Tuolumne County.
Hello, thank you for having us today to consider this proclamation. My name is Rosemary Giannini, and I'm the 4-H program representative for Tuolumne County. It's my privilege that I get to work with the young people and volunteers here today to share what they are learning through 4-H. But first, I wanted to speak briefly about the positive effects 4-H has in our community. In Tuolumne County, we currently have hundreds of kids and over 50 adult volunteers involved in the 4-H program. Through our community club program, we provide opportunities for youth and adults to work together to create sustainable community change. Additionally, our youth and volunteers participate in other programs such as our summer camp, community events, and county fair. Through these partnerships, youth and adults learn, grow, and work together as catalysts for positive change. Our goal as a program is to help youth reach their fullest potential while advancing the fields of youth development. Research shows that youth who participate in 4-H are 4 times more likely to make contributions to their communities. Additionally, they are 2 times more likely to participate in science programs during out-of-school time. They are also 2 times more likely to make healthier choices in comparison to their peers. We would not have a 4-H program in Tuolumne County without the continuous support of our Board of Supervisors. I'd like to thank you all for supporting the youth in our community. So without further ado, I'd like to pass things over to our County Ambassador, Belle Bloom, so she can tell you about the impact 4-H has had in her life.
Hi, my name is Belle Bloom. I am 16 years old, and this is my 8th year in 4-H and my 3rd year as a County Ambassador. As a County Ambassador, myself and my team, we help run 4-H events. We put on leadership retreats for the other members. We also attend state leadership conference where we can go and learn more leadership skills for ourselves, so that way we can bring it back to our county to teach others. We also go as a team to LA each year to where we go to the La Brea Tar Pits and the Museum of Tolerance, where we can grow as a team so that we can better help work together to teach the members of our community. As a member myself, I have been involved in the sewing project, the sheep project, the steer project, and the shooting sports project. All the projects that I've been in over the years have helped me grow as included with like my responsibility skills, my speaking skills, everything that I think that I am able to do today is probably because of 4-H. This year, I was state winner for my fashion review outfit that I sewed. And so now the California Fashion Review winners have been given the opportunity to go to Denver, Colorado to a national fashion review. And so I am honored to represent California in that way. But the opportunities that I have been given, that the other members in 4-H and the other members in 4-H have been given, would not have been possible without the support of you guys and without the support of our community. So we would really like to thank you for everything that you have given us. We also have our livestock field day this Saturday from 10 to 1 at the Motherlode Fairgrounds. It is a event where the kids can go and learn all about animals. Even if they're not in an animal project, they can go and learn about sheep, steers. There's also many different activities, including like a pig showmanship thing where they have beach balls and sticks so they can learn how to show a pig. They also have a steer halter making activity. So if they do happen to show a steer and they don't buy one, they can always make a halter for themselves too. So it's a great thing. So we would welcome you guys to come and visit just for a little bit, maybe to see how 4-H can impact the kids. So thank you.
Okay, so let's repeat the date, the time, and the location of that.
So it's this Saturday. I don't know what the date is.
Okay.
October 5th
Yeah.
from 10 to 1 at the Motherlode Fairgrounds.
Okay. Okie doke. So we have a resolution to proclaim October 5th through 11th as National 4-H Week in Tuolumne County. So I'm going to let Supervisor Brennan go first on, first of all, any public comment.
Hi, I'm Jolyn Miller. I'm the 4-H Youth Development Advisor for the Central Sierra Multi-County Partnership and also the Director for Cooperative Extension. And I just wanted to make mention that 4-H is part of the University of California Cooperative Extension System, which is a national network of land-grant universities. And in California, we are connected to the University of California, and we are part of the county through that cooperation. So just so that the public knows, and thank you to the board for supporting 4-H through the UC Cooperative Extension Program. We also do the Master Gardeners, Master Food Preservers, all that stuff too. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Supervisor Brennan, you're
So
up.
I know you came to me first because you saw I was wearing my
You are.
my 4-H green pin. So, yeah, this is such an important program, and I think we all jump at the chance of talking about this when it comes once a year. I mean, to have such a poised, well-spoken individual at 16, I only wish that I had developed those skills at that age. 4-H, it's important for everyone to know the breadth of the projects that you can be involved with. It's not some of the traditional things that we think of, but I think they have rocketry, virtually anything that someone wants to be involved with as a youth, there is or can be some program developed around that. I'm not sure when you're doing your sign-ups for 4-H, but I would assume they're right now as schools have just gotten back into session. So I would encourage parents, kids to reach out, attend the informational meetings. The 4-H office is right downtown on Washington Street. You can probably stop in and get information there. But lastly, I think we would be remiss if we didn't recognize that this program is so successful because of the magnitude of the volunteers and the parents that get kids to meetings, the parents that volunteer to be leaders, community members with special skills that come out to be leaders. This program is a success because of the committed volunteers that support it. And so I think we need to acknowledge and thank them also. And I know the other supervisors have something to say, but I'll be ready to move on a proclamation when you're ready.
Okay, I'll go with Supervisor Campbell if you got something.
Yeah, I got to be a judge at a 4-H event this year, and to see 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 16-year-olds that are more intelligent and better spoken than I am, and then the fact that I was there to judge them, I thought, I'm not qualified for this. But I mean, Belle, you're a testament to the kind of skills that you can learn in 4-H, being able to come here, speak so eloquently about a subject that you're passionate about. And thank you to the organizers of 4-H. You're building the leaders that are going to be taking the reins in our community down the road. So keep it up and keep public speaking. You'd be amazed all the places you can go if you just get a couple skills in public speaking.
Thank you.
You want my chair? Supervisor Kirk.
Bill, what do you want to do when you grow up?
So I've actually been thinking a lot about nursing.
Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, you're on the track to do whatever the heck you want because you're very well spoken. 4-H prepares young people for success, and it gives you're probably about 15 years ahead of the game as far as experience in public speaking and organizational skills and managing projects. And so I'd just like to encourage you to do whatever you want to do, you're going to be able to do. So set the bar high and go for it. And also understand that life throws curveballs, so it's okay to go with plan B, C, D, E, and F, as long as you're going for a high bar. I did 4-H when I was a kid for a few years because I I had ADD, so my parents made me to try and control me a little bit. It worked out good for a while, but they were all good memories. And as a parent, I have a 7 and 9-year-old, and we actually bought 6 acres, and we're getting ready to build a chicken coop and a fence for some sheep. And so I'm excited in the next few years to get them in 4-H. Not so much because of the farm thing that we want to do, but because of the life skills that it's going to give to them. So I like to say thank you for what you do. Thank the volunteers, over the 50 volunteers that make this program a success. I think if more parents knew about 4-H and understood the social benefits of it, I think a lot more kids would be involved with that program. So hopefully, just today's little tidbit will get more of the word out. But congratulations, and like I said, set the bar high, because there's nothing that you can't do. And just between now and about when you're 24, your whole life is basically projected. So stay on the right track, and you're going to do great things.
Thank you.
Yep.
Turn my mic off. So you're really a class act, and if you're the poster person for 4-H, I think 4-H is very well represented. And I know the 4-H program really well, and I know there's others like you in that program, and that program develops leaders for the next generation of leaders for this county, this state, this nation. And you should be very proud of yourself and all of your fellow 4-H members. It is a great program. I would encourage anyone in those age groups that 4-H deals with to look into the 4-H program. It's a great thing. You're on an awesome upward trajectory. My only advice to you is stay on it and go for it, okay? And with that, Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, I move adoption of a proclamation proclaiming October 5th through 11th, 2019 as National 4-H Week throughout Tuolumne County, and encourage all of the citizens to recognize 4-H for the significant impact they have made and continue to make by empowering youth with skills they need to lead for a lifetime.
Okay, I got a motion.
Second.
Okay, got a second by Supervisor Kirk for motion by Supervisor Brennan. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right, and please.
Also have some.
Oh boy, do I get a 4-H green pin like Sherry has? Also, thanks to all of the volunteers and parents and everybody that work with 4-H. It's a great program. So, again, thank you very much. Would the clerk please read item number 12?
This is consideration of approving an appointment to the Tuolumne County Planning Commission as a District 1 appointment.
Good morning, Chairman Rotifer and fellow supervisors. Quincy Yaley with Community Development Department. Before you right now is the consideration of approving an appointment to a District 1 appointment to the Tuolumne County Planning Commission with a term to expire February 15th, 2021. On July 2nd, 2019, Chairman Cole Prisbala submitted his resignation from the Planning Commission, and the clerk of the board posted a notice of vacancy. As of September, we have 2 applications, one from Ryan Rayleigh and Heidi Lupo, and it's recommended that your board approve an appointment to the Tuolumne County Planning Commission for the District 1 area with a term to expire February 15th, 2021.
Okay, any public comment? Bring it back to the board. Supervisor Brennan, it's your district.
Yes, and I am so excited to make this nomination, make the nomination of Mr. Ryan Relay. Ryan is an example of a representative from our community, graduated from high school. If you read his resume, after high school, he went away and gained some life experiences, got a number of degrees, and then came back and wants to build his family in Tuolumne County, wants to do what's right for Tuolumne County. He married the amazing Shannon Adamak, and I only point that out because I've had conversations with her also, because there has to be a commitment. This is a tremendous commitment, time commitment, to read the materials, be prepared, and do the due diligence that it takes to do this job. And she understands and she supports Ryan. And so with that, I would say that I am very excited to nominate Mr. Relay for the District 1 Planning Commissioner.
Okay, I've got a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Supervisor Campbell, motion by Supervisor Brennan. Any other discussion at the board? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? It's 4-0. I'm going to skip item 13.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to skip item 13. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 14?
This is board input on prioritization of the SR 15 widening and complete street project and expenditure of the Regional Surface Transportation Program exchange funding to accelerate project delivery.
Good morning, Board. We got a short PowerPoint presentation for you. I need to
Okay.
just a second.
You going to do a hookup time? You need some time to hook up?
Just a couple minutes. How much time you need? A couple minutes.
Okay, we're going to take a 10-minute break because we've got some 10:30 appointments, so we're going to take a break a little bit early today. So 10-minute break. You guys can hook up. Okay, 1 minute warning, please. If we can start heading back to our seats.
David, how are you doing? I see you're not in a sling anymore. Oh, I bet. Yeah, well, when I broke my wrist, it was the best. Yes, I went to Carlos. Yeah.
Yeah, they got the signal working properly.
Yeah.
The first few days they didn't have it right, but
Yeah.
that's really signage too.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got that nice long run. Making a left turn from one point. Get out of the back.
Okay. I'm going to reconvene the Board of Supervisors meeting, and let's go ahead and so that people that just got here, let's reread item number 14, please.
This is public input on prioritization of the SR 49 widening and complete street projects and expenditures of regional surface transportation program expenditure funding to accelerate project delivery.
Okay. Staff report.
Yes, good morning, Board. I'm Darren Grossi. I'm the Executive Director of the Tuolumne County Transportation Council. With me today is Alex Padilla. He's a Senior Transportation for the Transportation Transportation Council. And I also have Charles Carroll from District 10 Caltrans. Charles has been very nice in helping us create some visual simulation that we'll be showing here of how the roadway works today and into the future. But first I want to just talk about and give a little background on the TCTC and who we are. Oftentimes I find people don't even know that we exist, and if we do, what we do. So I'd start off by saying we were formed in 1967 under a joint powers agreement between the county and city of Sonora. At that time, our primary function was looking at land use issues and trying to go after state and federal funds to deal with land use. Later on, in 1972, we were designated as the Regional Transportation Planning Agency for the region by the Secretary of Transportation in California. Since that time, we've delivered many major projects, including East Sonora Bypass, working with Caltrans, of course, to deliver that project. We planned the project and we facilitated the project through the environmental process all the way through funding and construction. We're happy to say we've worked with the city and county on numerous smaller projects and medium-sized projects throughout all of Tuolumne County and the city of Sonora. Currently, we have a couple projects getting ready to go to construction here in the next year or two, namely the State Route 108 Peaceful Oak Interchange to complete the ramps there, the Monoway Operational Improvement Project, which will widen that section of relinquished highway that's known as Monoway. It'll also provide some left turn pockets for safety. And then finally, we're working with City of Sonora on a transit stop on Stockton Road, as well as some accessibility improvements, meaning sidewalk and whatnot, to that bus stop. The Transportation Council's primary responsibility is delivering a regional transportation plan and then the high priority projects in that regional transportation plan. In doing so, we work with our partners, the city, county, state, and oftentimes federal agencies to deliver those projects. After completion of some of those earlier projects I mentioned, it's time to start looking forward to the next major project in Tuolumne County. Our regional transportation plan identifies the widening through Jamestown Highway 49-108 as the next highest capacity increasing project on the state highway system. So with that, we've been working with Caltrans to do what we call a congested corridor plan. You must have a congested corridor plan to be eligible for some discretionary funds of the state. Normally, the project like this would be historically funded with our state transportation improvement program funds, which we don't get any new funds in that pot of funds until about 2027. We'll see about $2.8 million. We can probably forecast roughly the same amount every 2 years thereafter in that pot. So rather than wait for that funding to come about, we are proposing to accelerate the project, and the state, meaning Caltrans and the district, are very interested in that as well. That's why they have provided funding first for us in a grant. I think we got $248,000 for the congested corridor plan, and then they dedicated an awful lot of their own District 10 resources to help us put together the congested corridor plan. And then following on that, they do recognize early on that a leading candidate project will be the 5-lane project. They put it into this year's budget to do a project initiation document. The project initiation document will better identify the scope of work, the schedule, and the cost of delivering the project, and that'll become the basis of future partnerships and funding. We're about a year away from having that much clarity on the project, but today we're going to talk about the concepts of what the project will look like and how it might perform. So let's go ahead and look at the PowerPoint here to talk about the project that's proposed. Again, it's part of a congested corridor. Alex, can you slide back just a little bit there? It's part of a congested corridor plan that stretches all the way. Actually, it goes down to Chicken Ranch, Mackey Road, up through Jamestown, clearing Fifth Avenue. It's a broad corridor, so we're also looking at other parallel facilities for trails and whatnot, up through Stockton Road, 49 into Sonora, and then connecting up all the way to Pedro Y as far as the roads go, but we're also focused on Columbia College. And when we look at the corridor and congested corridor programming, we have to not just think about how many cars we can get through the corridor, but how many people we can get through the corridor. And when I say that, we have to look at things like transit is a way of moving people through the corridor efficiently. Trails, we are looking at the Woods Creek Trail that's been proposed in county documents for decades. We're also looking at the Sierra Railroad Trail corridor. We're looking at perhaps a park and ride in the Jamestown area. So we're looking at all modes of transportation. We talk about a congested corridor. Okay. What as I mentioned, we are looking at a Woods Creek Trail. This is a project that's been on the county books for a long time. The next step after this will be maybe doing we should have an alignment laid out at the end of this process. And I should back up and say we're actually only about 70-75% done with the congested corridor plan. We will engage a significant public input process. We weren't quite ready for that, so we're pulling information out of that process a little bit early before we start the public input process. So we'll be certainly having a lot of discussion about the Woods Creek Trail. We'll also be looking at the Sierra Railroad Trail. You can see what we're planning that trail to possibly go to East Sonora all the way out to Standard Park. The Woods Creek Trail would, we haven't quite got the alignments planned out, but it would go up all the way to Columbia College. This corridor here is the most requested trail in Tuolumne County, and I would note that it's part of the TCTC's strategic plan to work with community trails, community groups, and agencies to deliver a regional trail system. Go ahead, Alex. As far as the roadway goes, we do envision still in the urban areas of the county having both a 5-lane facility as well as a bike lane and sidewalks adjacent to the street. Again, that's the urban areas. We have yet to define exactly what we'll do in the less urban areas that are between the communities, but in all likelihood, unless in the non-urban areas, we won't have a sidewalk, but instead maybe an 8-foot shoulder to keep that rural character. Again, this is the kind of details that we'll vet a little bit more through the public input process. We did come up with a couple graphics of what intersections might look like. This is Rawhide Road. I would note that I'm not sure we've got the connection in the right place. We've got, this was produced late yesterday afternoon. But it does represent, you'd have turn lanes, you'd have 2 lanes in each direction. This is a 3-lane configuration coming off of Rawhide Bridge. Fifth Avenue, again, you've got the 3 lanes in each direction, as well as 2 lanes in each direction, east-west, and turn lanes as appropriate. A lot of this is conceptual at this point, and we will be refining these designs later on and getting much more input on the final designs as we go. I would also point out that in this corridor, starting east of Sierra Motors, you have a pretty wide corridor through. I think it's about a 90-foot right-of-way, all the way through past Harvard Mine Road, or to about Harvard Mine Road, and that's really the scope of the project. We're trying to get it done within the existing right-of-way as best we can. Both east and west of here, we don't have quite as much right-of-way, and the geographic challenges are much more significant. So we're primarily focusing on this corridor from east of Sierra Motors to Harvard Mine as the most achievable project, and we estimate the cost of that project as being about $14 million, but we'll get much more clarity on that when the project initiation document is completed. Go ahead, Alex. Okay, so we're at the, go ahead and switch over to the video simulations, and I'll be right back to that. I want to point out the schedule on this project most aggressively would be that in the next year we're completing the project initiation document. Then we'd start into the environmental impact report. We think that's about a 5-year process. Possibly it could be shorter. Quite possibly it could be longer. Right-of-way acquisition, we put 2 years in there, but recognizing all the right-of-way that we have, we might be able to condense that a bit. It's just a little too early to say for sure. And then finally, construction is probably about a 2-year process on this project, which takes us out to starting construction in 2028, completing about 2030. So with that, we were able to put together some simulation videos. Charles did a great job on this. This is using existing conditions, so if you want to go and play that, it's going to be hard for people at home to see. I apologize, but you can and we've got kind of doubled the speed on traffic, but you can see the queues of traffic here building in both directions at Rawhide, as well as Fifth, and then the lights go green and they begin to move through the intersections. And this is assuming optimization of the traffic signal timing. Now, what I should probably point out that this is a pretty good condition, but this is 95% of capacity is what we project this to be at. So if anytime you go to 100% or beyond, you're not clearing the intersection. So when we get that extra traffic, and let me back up and say this is built off, go ahead and keep playing that over. This is built off of the peak 15 minutes of the peak hour of the day. Now, at any given time, you may have an extra pulse of traffic that creates more congestion. You go over 100%, and then you start getting your backups. You may have something that degrades your capacity, like, say, a broken-down vehicle or pedestrians pushing buttons or crossing. And then, of course, on weekends, come Friday afternoon or Sunday afternoons, we often see probably a good 10 or 15% more traffic than what we see today, and that exceeds capacity and begins those big backups that we're seeing. Gosh, we've seen just this morning all the way back to the bridge over Woods Creek. It was really particularly bad this morning, but I think some would testify it goes all the way back to Chicken Ranch and even in the eastern direction on Sunday afternoons up towards Lime Kiln Road. So it's gotten bad, and I know some of you board members have received those complaints and those phone calls.
Yeah, and I just want to make a comment because I have been, as Darren knows, pretty actively monitoring and coordinating with him on helping get Caltrans to sequence those lights as best we can. But when traffic is heavy in both directions, and it often is during, I hesitate to use the term rush hour in a rural environment, but in the afternoon when people that commute down to the valley and come home, and the people that commute up from the valley are going home, when it's bad in both directions, there is no possible way to sequence those lights in both directions simultaneously. So that's just an issue that we have at certain times of the day, and there's, other than shutting one of the lights off, there's no real way to deal with that. So
It's probably worth mentioning the light at Rawhide went in after this Board of Supervisors back about 2002 or so received a petition from the public with about 2,000 signatures on it, as I recall, led by the folks at the Whistle Stop. And then later I think we had some petitions at Fifth Avenue along with some horrific accidents out there, convinced Caltrans that a signal was indeed needed, particularly with the realignment that went on with Jamestown Road. So with that, I want to bring up the next video that we have. This is, again, existing traffic levels, but we did incorporate in the new bridge, so you've got some additional lane capacity there. The flow, go ahead and keep that going, Alex, if you could. The flow's slightly better. You're not required. The cycle time here is about 250 seconds, which is extremely long. Normal cycle lengths are closer to 90 seconds. We'll be able to clear that with much shorter cycle lengths, and it'll help a bit. But it doesn't solve the problem. We're going to run into the same problems on those peak flows that we get at certain times of day. The road just can't handle it. So if we can move to the next scenario. The next scenario is when we do forecasting, we look out and we say, okay, with the Rawhide Bridge and out with additional traffic, this actually goes out to the year 2040. It represents going from about 19,000 cars a day to over 25,000 cars a day. It's about a 1.8% annual increase in traffic. And you can see that it's very congested in this corridor. It backs up. You can't even see how far they're backing up in this direction and to the east. So with that, go ahead and go to the next slide if you could, Alex. So this is representative of the flows that you'll see with the 5-lane widening. You can see it flows much, much better. We still get some queuing here that's a little bit of a concern. We'll have to keep an eye on that and see what we can do through the design. But you can see that with even 28,000 cars a day, things are flowing much, much better. So that's the solution we're proposing. It's conceptual at this point. Things will be refined as we go along. I guess at this point, we got two pieces that I'd like to get input on. It's first the project prioritization, then we can get into the funding after that if you like. So any questions from the board on the project?
Any questions?
So you and I have talked quite a bit, and I was really happy to look at this congested report that took it all the way out to Pedro Y, and it's just prioritizing which sections come first. And so I understand the need to do this. Question I have is currently, because you were talking about this, so the folks that are waiting at on the other side of the Rawhide Bridge, because they have if they are going to be going south, and they are the ones that are waiting, and when the light turns green, you still have folks making a right-hand turn on a red light. And so those people that are on the other side of the bridge, and it really backs up. I was just wondering if there was any signage, and I was going to look this weekend and I didn't, that says, so on 49 going west, signage at no right-hand turn on a red light. So that just for that few seconds when it's green, for the folks that are coming across the bridge, they have access to go, and they're not sitting on the other side with the yield, and people are still making the right-hand turn on the red.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. I don't know for sure,
Okay.
but I'll check into it and make sure that I work with Caltrans to see if we can't get that.
That new bridge is scheduled to be constructed next year, right?
Right,
That's
so
what I understand.
This is just an interim piece, and I understand
Yeah, I
that.
understand.
But again, it gets really backed up. But coming back to my concerns with my district, because I've had this conversation with you quite a bit, and so I was really excited to see this report, taking 49 all the way out past Pedro Y, because I just think that we see the same kinds of backups, especially when Sonora High is in session, and we have a lot more foot traffic now, bicycle traffic, going to the college. And so I understand the need to prioritize, and I'm probably okay with this, recognizing that that is going to be the next piece that we're going to be looking at as we look. I'm putting
Yes.
an exclamation point on the need to be looking at 49 north of Sonora.
That's correct, and we can certainly move different projects forward at the same time. I didn't come prepared to discuss those other
I
aspects
understand,
of
and
the
so I'm
project.
just saying this out loud. You and I have had these conversations, and I just think that we have a tremendous need north of Sonora, as we do on
Yeah, and when,
49 coming into
when
Sonora.
you'd like, or when the time is appropriate, we'll certainly have that discussion because we're looking at it real hard. We got the same kind of visual simulation on alternatives.
Right, but in prioritizing, we're recognizing what we're prioritizing potentially against.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, board?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I agree completely with this plan. I think it's pretty obvious to anybody that drives that section that, you know, the most immediate congestion issue we have is that Jamestown to Sonora area. And, you know, that's the place. It takes so long to get these projects through that we need to start now looking at it and working on it, making sure that we have the money set aside early on so that we can get this thing done as quickly, I use quickly in quotes, as possible because, you know, it's just been getting worse with the lights. You know, as Chairman Rotifer said, there's no way you can time those lights to let all the traffic through in an easy way when it's at those peak periods of time. So we need to look at some complete, you know, this complete streets program. And I also wanted to say that you mentioned early on the Woods Creek Trail and then the railroad trail. I think that those elements, although not as high a priority as this immediate congestion issue, I think those will go a long way to relieving some of the congestion in other parts of the county. So going from Sonora to Columbia as well as Jamestown, Sonora to Tuolumne Township, because you're adding in, you know, hiking or walking and biking trails, which that's always been kind of a thorn in my side is that, you know, we live in this beautiful rural county, and yet it's hard to get anywhere unless you have a car. And particularly the Sonora to Columbia piece of the Woods Creek Trail is kind of a high priority to me because you have our college, Columbia College, in one area, and then you have our main economic hub, which is kind of the Jamestown-Sonora corridor, that are separated by this relatively small piece of land. But nonetheless, there's no way to walk across it unless you want to take your life in your hand walking down the highway. So, you know, the congestion on 108, I think you have it prioritized the right way. That congestion is the main issue, but part and parcel to that, we need to look at these trail elements that the county is lacking, and also that are more affordable than these large-scale projects. And so it's something we can do piecemeal over time in a way that I think would be effective and hopefully get it done in the next couple decades.
Supervisor Kirk, do you have some?
Yeah, I know we've been emailing a few times, and I drive to work real early in the morning, so I don't get the early commute, but on the way home, it was horrible with those two lights for a while. Excuse me. And so you guys did work on some changes. I know it's better. I have a few questions. Once it gets to the 95, 100% capacity, I know it backs up. Fast forward, this thing's constructed. How much will that affect the traffic once this is constructed? What was the...
You know, I don't have the numbers that maybe Charles might remember off the top of his head, but typically we aim for going from this would be a level of service EF, which is E is your 95% or 90+% capacity. F is beyond 100% of capacity. Typically we aim for getting down to a C or a D, which is closer to 80% of capacity. And that's what we would build for. Do you remember what the capacity is in 2040 with the project?
Well, what we did find with the simulations is that in 2040, with the lane widening and signal optimization and coordination, we'd be able to improve the level of service to about C to D over what would otherwise be a D to F level of service in 2040.
So then on those big rush hours, it would be, the worst would be about what it is right now. Not.
Yeah, I think that what you're trying, on a daily peak time, it's going to be a D, which is very good, frankly.
Right. And then on the critical
but on
time,
those
it'll be more
big
like around a
weekends,
90.
On holiday weekends and whatnot, we're going to be closer to capacity. I don't think we'll see the backups at all that we see today. But there may be times where it doesn't quite clear.
Okay.
You don't generally build for the biggest peak of the year.
Right.
Because nobody can really afford that.
And then my other question, and I think I know the answer, but I just want confirmation. There's just a bunch of work done right there on those lights, and now we're talking about widening. When we go to widen that road down the road, all that work was due to the current needs and safety needs? It just seems like we're going to, we did that project, and now we're going to demolition that project as we widen, right in front of the Ford station there.
It's very unfortunate we couldn't get our timing lined up better. We wish that the funding would have allowed for that. So I think when you look at the projects that were done by the county, primarily was to widen or put in a new rawhide bridge and deal with that problem, which is a bit of a safety and capacity issue. But then that had ripple effects, which required other safety improvements, which are the two lights that you see in realignment of roads. We just haven't been able to line up the timing.
Okay. All right. Other than that, yes. Okay. I like the idea of the trails as well. I think it's a good thing.
If I can just respond to the trail piece, is one thing we haven't talked about is CEQA reform under SB 743. And much of what drives the state is reducing greenhouse gas emissions. And you're just not going to do a project like this, capacity increasing project, without some other elements to offset the emissions and reduced vehicle miles traveled countywide. And those trails are part of a broader strategy that I'm working with Quincy and the city on to deal with CEQA reform. You'll be seeing that after the first of the year, a broader package of projects.
Okay.
And without that, we couldn't get funding. So if we can go ahead and move into the funding discussion. Go
ahead.
I'll try and be brief. As noted, we don't anticipate any new capacity increasing project money through the STIP until 2027, but we do have an opportunity to use some of our regional surface transportation program exchange funds. We've got $489,000 currently in that fund, and we're expecting another $469,000 later this year, which brings us to about $959,000 in available funds. We did have a presentation by the California Transportation Commission Vice Chair Paul Van Koneberg, and he encouraged us to use local funds, working with the district, leveraging some of those district funds to accelerate this project. He's facilitated a meeting next week with senior staff of the CTC to get input on this project and the funding partnerships. We are encouraging the TCTC to allow us to use these funds to move projects forward that are part of the congested corridor program and accelerate those projects. I have heard from the district director that he's very interested in becoming a partner to move the project forward early if we can bring some local funds to the table. We recognize that in the past years we've funded an array of projects of the counties and the cities, from bridge match money to paving on Parrots Ferry Road and a few others, or many others actually. So it is a bit of a burden for the county to not receive these funds as they typically might have in the past, but we think there is an overall greater benefit to the region that's worth doing. And we can certainly point to projects that we've done in the past, like East Sonora Bypass. We spent about $5 million of local transportation funds and leveraged over $100 million for the bypass. And certainly we've seen that with the Law and Justice Center as well. So we're recommending to continue that kind of smart, strategic use of your funds. And the TCTC would certainly like to get your input on that.
Okay. Can I have public comment?
My question is, will there be bike lanes on these trails?
Yes.
Okay, good. And did you say 2028 for the trails? Completion 2028?
I didn't give a date on the trails.
Oh, so do you have any kind of idea?
Not at this time, no.
Okay. Another thing you said, I think I heard you say, no sidewalks to keep the rural atmosphere.
In the non-urban areas, I'll call it the rural areas that are kind of between the urban areas, and that's something that we've learned in the past, that when we try and put in sidewalks in what feels more rural, we get a lot of pushback from the community about we don't want to be Modesto, but we do still think that it's appropriate to plan those in the more infill urban areas, connecting to transit and whatnot. But certainly that is a concept at this point. As we work through from concept to actual design, there'll be opportunities for input on specific segments of where we have sidewalk and where we don't.
Because people do walk on state highways, dangerous as it is, and sidewalks might be an option. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no other public comment, I'll just say I travel that entire corridor that you highlighted up there all the time, both ends of Sonora. And I do believe that other than the over-peak periods that you talked about on Friday afternoon for traffic coming up the hill, and Sunday or Monday, if it's a 3-day weekend, traffic going down the hill. I think those are steady state Monday through Friday. That corridor is easily, on both ends, the most congested corridor. I do think the Jamestown corridor, because it serves the 108 traffic coming down as well, I think that is a priority number one, but I agree with Supervisor Brennan and Supervisor Campbell that the other end is also a high priority. I have to tell you, and you've done good work in the past, I'm going to look to you to do good work in the future. Caltrans has been a good supporting partner in our efforts. The sooner the better. Yesterday would have been perfect. Okay, but we are choked down mostly in the afternoon. I don't know why it's a little bit less in the morning, but it seems to be. But in the afternoon, I was going down yesterday. Had a reason I had to go to Modesto yesterday. I left here about 4:30 and it was interesting getting out of Jamestown. So that's going to continue. Like I said, the lights, I think right now they're sequenced as well as they can be. We can't do much better until we get the new Rawhide Bridge. I agree with Sherry, maybe some signage preventing a right turn on red there, going down the hill onto where we've got that one-lane bridge, because otherwise, you can spend a lifetime on the far side of the bridge trying to get across. So maybe we look at something like that. But I guess you're looking for guidance. I think from what I heard, the consensus of the board is go forth and do great things, and the sooner the better. Do you need something more than that?
That's perfect.
Okay. Does anybody disagree with that? Okay. Thank you for the presentation. And would the clerk of the board read our first 10:30 appointment?
This is a public hearing to consider adopting a resolution establishing a $1 fee to implement and operate the electronic recording program established under the Electronic Recording Delivery Act.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board.
Assessor Recorder.
Assessor Recorder Kanan Whitman, and with me is Carol Jackson, the Assistant Recorder. And so on May 7, 2019, your board adopted a resolution establishing an electronic recording delivery system for the Recorder's Office. At that same meeting, your board directed the Assessor Recorder to set a public hearing to consider adopting a resolution establishing a $1 fee on all recorded instruments to offset the cost of the system. If your board approves the statutory allowed $1 recording fee, the cost of this program is expected to be offset by those revenues. Therefore, the fee is expected to eliminate any impact of this program on the county's general fund, and we would begin collecting the fee on January 1st, 2020. So it is recommended that your board approve the resolution establishing a $1 fee for implementation and ongoing operation of the electronic recording program, and direct the auditor controller to establish the necessary interest-bearing trust fund accounts to support and maintain the program.
Okay, just a clarification. This is an external mandate, correct?
It is not an external mandate.
No. Oh. The recording process, the electronic recording is an external mandate. True or false?
It's an option, so it's not mandated. We are doing it. Currently, we have 3 people working in the recorder's office, and we're looking as this as an avenue to kind of help with the workflow and workload that office is going under.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, public comment? Bring it back to the board.
Can you just give a few examples of things that you might record?
Deeds of trust. Yeah, she does more on day to day.
I got to interrupt you, okay? This is a public hearing. I'm going to open the public hearing. Now, I'll ask again, public comment? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Okay. You want to restate
just
your
some
question?
examples that you would use this tool for.
Typically, any instrument that affects real property in Tuolumne County, so deeds of trust, deeds, grant deeds, quitclaim deeds.
Tax liens, any kind of liens, notaries. There are about 380 documents types that we record daily.
Okay. Looking for a motion.
Move on staff recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, got a motion by Supervisor Campbell, second by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's your elected assessor recorder. Okay, would the clerk of the board read our second 10:30 appointment?
So we're going to recess and reconvene?
I closed the public comment.
We have to recess.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
You're right. Okay, I'm going to recess the Board of Supervisors and reconvene as the Air Pollution Control District. And this is a public hearing, and so I am opening up the public hearing.
And this is, do you want me to read it now?
Yes.
Okay. Public hearing to review and receive comments on the Air Pollution Control District's fiscal year 2019-2020 budget and set a public hearing to adopt the budget on October 15th at 10:30 a.m.
Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. I'm Kelly Schroeder, the Tuolumne County Air Pollution Control Officer, and this is my Deputy Air Pollution Control Officer, Bill Sandman. And today we're here in regards to our budget for fiscal year 1920. The California Health and Safety Code sections 40130 through 40131 requires each air pollution control district to present its annual budget in a public hearing held exclusively for that purpose and separate from any other budget hearing. The air pollution control budget was incorporated and formally adopted in the county budget process on September 17, 2019. A copy of that budget was included in our attachments. The board must now review and adopt our budget as your board, and it requires 2 hearings. So for today, we're doing the public hearing, and then a second hearing will be scheduled later to adopt the actual budget. So as a summary of our budget, we found that we were 36% greater than last year, but that is due to staffing. We lost an air pollution control specialist, and one of our staff members was out for almost a year and a half out on medical leave. So we didn't have any staff. So the 36% is our staff coming back into their positions, and we've hired that air pollution control specialist back. our revenues, the air pollution control budget receives no general fund support. Any revenue that we do receive in one fiscal year but is not spent is deferred to the next fiscal year, and the amount deferred from 1819 to 1920 was $257,950. Our current, the programs that we provide service for will be maintained, and they include the stationary source, open prescribed burning, enhanced vapor recovery, Carl Moyer incentive grant programs, air toxic control measures, implementation, public outreach, and air quality land use planning programs. So it is our recommendation that your board set a hearing date of October 15th, 2019 at 10:30 to adopt the Air Pollution Control District 1920 budget. Any questions?
Okay. Any public input? Okay. I'm going to close the public hearing then and bring it back to the board.
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Second.
Okay, got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Kirk. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 4-0. Okay, I'm going to adjourn the Air Pollution Control District Board and reconvene as the Board of Supervisors. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 1030 or number 3 of our 1030 appointments?
This is a public hearing to consider Flores an ordinance for a zone change.
Okay. This is a public hearing. I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing while they're getting set up. Okay, are we to staff report? Something, there you go.
Good morning. My name is Renee Hendry. I'm the project planner. We have before you zone change RZ 19-008. Here are the vision, mission, and values that Tuolumne County uses to process every project that we receive. And one value is to encourage innovative and creative approaches to problem solving. The zone change is being requested to adjust the 2 existing zoning districts on the site. The existing 1-acre parcel will be changed from RE5, which is residential estate 5-acre minimum, to A20, which is general agricultural 20-acre minimum. A 3-acre portion of the larger parcel will be changed from A20 to RE5. The adjustments to the zoning districts are to allow a re-subdivision of the existing 2 parcels. The 1-acre parcel is currently located near the center of this map and is being relocated to the upper northwest portion of the site and will become 3 acres. The second parcel will become 26 acres in size and will contain the existing residence. The project site is located at 12393 Big Hill Road, southeast of the intersection of Big Hill Road and Sawmill Flat Road. Here's a map of the project's location on Big Hill Road. The dark brown color represents the rural residential general plan land use designation. The existing general plan land use of the site is, as I said, rural residential. The proposed adjustments to the 2 existing zoning districts on the site would be consistent with the general plan. The project was heard by the Tuolumne County Planning Commission on Wednesday, September 18th. The Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of the zone change. Here are the findings for approval of the zone change. The proposal must be consistent with the general plan, consistent with the ordinance code, and the site must be suited to the uses permitted under the proposed zoning districts. The Board of Supervisors can approve the project, deny the project, modify the project, or send the project back for further review. Any questions?
No, but I got to tell you, if you move this piece of property about 100 feet in any direction, you'd touch 3 of the supervisor's districts,
That would
I
be
think.
right, but since it's
right
not.
now, it happens to be in Supervisor Brennan's district. Is there any public input on this project? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to bring it back. I'm going to close the public hearing and bring it back to the board. Supervisor Brennan.
Yeah, I move approval of zone change RZ 19-008 based on findings A through D. And I think I read there was, and that the Board of Supervisors direct the environmental coordinator file a notice of determination pursuant to section 15162 of the state CEQA guidelines.
Okay, got a second?
I'll second.
Go ahead.
Oh.
I'll second it.
There you go.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? 4-0. The motion was by Brennan, second by Rotifer. Will the clerk of the board please read our fourth 10:30 appointment?
This is a public hearing to consider code sheds and ordinance for a zone change and an OSA determination.
Ms. Yaley.
Good morning, Quincy Yaley with the Community Development Department. The project before you today is RZ 19-009. Here are the mission, vision, and value statements of Tuolumne County. The proposed project is to rezone a 67.8 acre project to R1MX, which is Single Family Residential Mobile Home Exclusion Combining District, and R1HMX, which adds in a historical overlay district. This is from the existing zoning on the site, which is AE 37 Design Control Combining, AE 37 R1 Design Control Combining, and R1, which is Single Family Residential, and the last one, Design Control Combining and Historic. The existing Design Control combining district is not being proposed to go forward with this application because Tuolumne County no longer enforces design review in that area. The project is located at the southwest corner of Saco Street and Preston Lane in Jamestown. The site is currently 8 legal parcels. Here's a map of the proposed project site. You can see the northern portion of the project site has a land use designation of high density residential. The southern portion of the project site has a general plan land use designation of medium density residential. As I said, the project is currently 8 legal parcels. The zone change is being proposed to facilitate a re-subdivision. The re-subdivision will be heard and reviewed by our county surveyor and is not before you today. If the re-subdivision is approved, it would adjust the internal property lines to result in 4 legal parcels. So the property would be going from 8 to 4. Section 1706035 of the Tuolumne County Ordinance Code prohibits the county from adjusting property lines when it would result in more than one primary zoning district. And as we stated, the existing zoning on the site consists of single-family residential and general agricultural 37-acre minimum. So the applicant's proposing to rezone the entire site to a combination of single-family residential, mobile home exclusion combining, and single-family residential, historic combining, and mobile home exclusion combining. I would like to clarify that the MX, or mobile home exclusion combining district, there's a lot of confusion with the public on what that means. What it does is restrict the age of the mobile home that can be placed on a property with a building permit to no older than 10 years of age from the time the permit is issued. It also requires some additional skirting and foundation. So it doesn't prohibit mobile homes. It doesn't only allow mobile homes. It just restricts the age to a newer mobile home unit on the property. The single-family residential zoning district allows up to 6 dwelling units per acre. The general plan on the site does allow more dense development if that were proposed in the future, but right now they're just proposing a zoning district that allows 6 dwelling units per acre. This is a map of the proposed re-subdivision, and you can see that the 8 parcels and many assessor parcel numbers would be simplified into 4 legal parcels. One of the questions we got from the public was that there was a concern that this project would allow a development project to occur. And I just want to be clear that right now, all they're proposing is a zone change. There's no buildings or apartments or high-density residential that's being proposed as a part of this project. If that were to occur in the future, the applicant or property owner at that time would be required to come back through the Community Development Department and go forward with a separate review and approval at that time. The Planning Commission heard the project on September 18th and unanimously recommended approval of the project. Here are the findings to make the zone change. Your staff report format is slightly different. We're playing around with sort of shortening the staff report when it makes sense. And so the findings for this project and the recommendation are on the second page of your staff report at the bottom. And your Board of Supervisors may either approve the project, approve with modifications, send the project back to staff, or deny the project. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay. I believe I opened up the public hearing, but just in case I didn't, it is open. Okay. Public input on this project.
I think we.
Oh, I thought.
You're
You're not
one person up front.
Oh, come on up to the. Please come up to the podium. To the podium. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Supervisors. Short of 2 weeks, I've lived in Jamestown for 49 years, so I've seen a lot of changes. The reason my husband and I are opposed to this project, for instance, the discussion you had about the traffic problems for the previous project a little while ago. I wish you could see this morning, this property that's in discussion. There are cars and trucks parked on both sides of the street there, Preston Lane, and just it's open for one lane to drive through. So it's a real problem. With the current zoning and loss of agricultural land and making it high density is not a good thing to do. There was a recent fire there. It seems like there are fires in that area a couple times a year. And so it'll definitely have to have access or other roads that the people can get out of there. We wonder about the water availability and use. The problems with drought. Everything's gone brown in Jamestown because we've tried to save on that water. I don't know whether it's going to lead to metering or what. Who will pay for the fire hydrants that are needed in that area? It's a real problem. And the firehouse will need upgrading because I don't think they can take care of any more housing developments in that area. How will our property owners current property owners like myself, be affected if more of these things go in? The roads are in terrible condition. In fact, in front of my house, our house, grass grows up in the cracks in the street. And as long as we've lived there, the county has not repaired the streets in the Motherlode West subdivision. Has the have schools been contacted about this project? Surely it will cause an increase in students in the area, and will a new school have to be built to take care of this increase? I don't know that anyone has contacted you from the sanitary district in Jamestown, what that would mean for them. Could they offer services for this many projects? I'm really concerned about the trailer aspect. It's really hard to see apartments go down, but to have trailers there where people would, the turnover of people in a place like that would be very difficult. Would the trailers have to be on foundations? That may make it look a little better for permanence, but just having skirting around it doesn't look very good, and it would not prevent fires. Halbert, have you heard from the police department yet? Would they be able to take care of this increase in population in that area? I'm always concerned. I haven't been here for a while, but I'm always concerned about CEQA be applying to projects. So there is an historic area in Jamestown, and I don't think anyone ever mentions the earthquake zone right there. It's supposed to go right across the railroad tracks in Jamestown. So you may need some ruling on that, on density. Are there any questions for me?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much for your input.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Before you, go ahead, Ron. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
My name's Ron Kopp. I'm here representing the owners of the property, and Quincy outlined the project very well. This really is just a zone change to reduce the property from 8 parcels to 4, and because the underlying zoning on some of the couple small ones didn't match up, we had to bring it in compliance, so just bring it in consistent. A lot of good points were brought up as far as going forward, and as you know, whenever you develop a property with CEQA and all the programs, we'll be working with the Community Development Department and addressing all of those points as we come forward, and you'll have, along with the Planning Commission and the staff, have a chance to review all of those issues at that time relating to any development going forward. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Well, thank you. Okay, any other public input? I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. I'll bring it back, and I'll just reiterate what both Quincy Yaley said and what Mr. Koff said. This is only a zone change. Obviously, people make zone changes with ideas in mind. We aren't ruling on what those ideas might be today. Any construction project out there that would change the landscape on that property will have to go through all the normal CEQA environmental reviews, the wastewater, water capacity analyses, all of the things that the lady brought up would be considered with any development project on the property. It's sort of a misnomer to call it a project, because really all it is we're changing what would be allowed there. But we would still have to approve any project that would go in there in terms of fit, form, all of those kinds of things. So we're only voting on the zoning change today. And are there any questions or comments from staff?
Yeah, I had one question for staff. So I was just handed this letter. It looks like it was received the 23rd of September and addressed to the Planning Commission. Was this included in the Planning Commission's packet?
No, we received it after the Planning Commission heard and made a recommendation on the project, and that's why we handed it out to you, because also our packet to the board had already been prepared at that time, so it was a late addition.
Okay.
And my understanding, because I'm trying to be respectful to the speakers at the podium and read this thing at the same time, but their input was to require a homeowners association. Is that the gist of the letter?
Yes, and just addressing concerns that and issues that if and when there is a future construction project on the site, all of the issues that were raised today, as well as in the Planning Commission, would be considered at that time.
Exactly, and so the letter kind of falls in the same category as the comments made in public hearing. Okay.
It says received September 23rd, and so I was kind of curious why it didn't end up in the board packet.
It came to my desk after we had sent the board packet out.
So somebody within CRA received the letter, but it didn't make it to your desk until...
That's right.
Okay. All right. It's just kind of difficult to read through this and see that we have, 23 signatures when, we're hearing the issue right now. Now, reading the content of it, it doesn't appear that the matter that's before the board right now is going to directly the concerns that are posted here, but it's just, I was just confused if it says it's addressed to the Planning Commission, but apparently the Planning Commission didn't see it, and then we didn't have an opportunity to see it until just now. It just makes this a little more, makes it a little more difficult.
Okay.
And with that, I will
Okay.
end my comments.
Okay. So it is my district, and since my adopted brother-in-law is out sick today, I move on staff recommendation based on findings A through D. Approval of rezone RZ 19-009 based on findings A through D.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? 4-0. Would the clerk of the board please read our fifth 10:30 appointment?
11 a.m.
Pardon me?
It's our 11 a.m. appointment.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our 11 a.m. Our fourth timed appointment.
Okay, so this is a presentation by York Risk Service Group on the status of the Tuolumne County Workers' Compensation Plan.
Why does it say fifth 10:30 appointment?
I don't know.
Yours is
Sorry.
different.
It is.
Okay, there we go. Couldn't hear any echo. Good morning, Ann from Human Resources. With me today is Dory Zumwalt and Lizzie O'Keefe from York Risk Services Group. And they are here to do the annual workers' comp update. And as you know, the last time I tried to do this, it was not very successful. So we are going to hope that this presentation isn't quite as shaky as the last one. But I wanted to also make sure that I recognize Barbie Plowman, who is the frontline in HR for all things workers' comp. She is, she deals with calls and phone calls and forms and more forms and getting people to work. And then Kim and I work on interactive process. But Barbie is the person who all employees know and who Lizzie and Dory probably work with more than anybody else. And she just really keeps this program running. So I just wanted to give that little plug for her before we went on with this.
Hello. Good morning. It's still morning. So I wanted just to give a quick little summary of what we're going to see in the trending report. And so just to go over real quickly what I saw in the report is that the total new claims are continuing to be lower than our 5-year average, but the total paid and incurred is a little higher than average, our average, which is consistent with what we're seeing throughout the state. The WCIRB found that the rates were going to be about 5% higher. The severity would be about 5% higher. So this is going in line with what we're seeing. Lost days are also trending a little higher, but we see that only 9 people were off for more than 30 days, so that is good. Our closing ratio is over 100% for all 5 years, and what a closing ratio is however many new claims come in, we want to make sure we're closing out at least that many, and that gives us a 100% ratio. Our inventory, which is the open workers' comp claims, is also continuing to trend lower. The lifting and strain injuries are the most frequent, and cumulative trauma claims are the most costly, and this again is consistent with what we're seeing throughout this state, that cumulative trauma claims have increased by 80% since 2005. The deputy sheriff claims are the number one frequent claim by occupation for frequency and severity, but the average is actually only 20,000, which is really good, which is lower than what we normally see up in Northern California. And I have to say Northern California because Southern California costs are a lot higher. The sheriff coroner had that department had the highest amount of frequency and severity, but again, that's not uncommon given the presumption and the type of job that they have. So our first chart is the claim type by the fiscal year. So this shows us just the claims that came in during this fiscal year, and as you can see, the total is lower. It's trending lower. It's a little higher than it was last year, but it is trending lower. And our total paid and incurred for those fiscal years is a little bit higher, but again, it's not off the realm of what we're seeing and consistent with what the state has projected.
Just curious with that. Go back a sec. First aid, and then what's the second one?
Oh, yes. Yes. So our first aid claims are first aid. They don't necessarily require a lot of medical treatment. It's just a first aid type of injury. Indemnity claim, and that is the orange. Those are the claims where there's generally lost time, so time lost from work. So those are going to be your most expensive claims. Medical only is they just need medical treatment, but more medical treatment than just a first aid. And then the gray bar is our total line. So as you can see, our indemnity claims last year, there was 38 versus 31 the prior year, but we're trending right about average for the number of indemnity claims. But if that was a goal, that would be our goal, is to reduce the number of indemnity claims because, again, those are the most expensive. And indemnity means lost time from work. So this next chart is the total paid regardless of the date of injury. So this includes claims from 1982. So it's all the claims that are still open. And with workers' comp, claims stay around for a very long time because if they need future medical treatment, it can be awarded for their life for that injury. But our total paid is lower than it's been over the past couple of years. And then I also just like to throw in a chart showing how much money we're getting back through recoveries, and this is either through third-party recoveries or through excess insurance recoveries. So lost days, this is one of the points that I look at pretty heavily because those lost days equate to more dollars spent. So anytime that we can accommodate modified duty, the county does as much as they can to try to accommodate that modified duty. Sometimes an injured worker is just placed off of work and there's no modified duty available, which is what we saw for the last couple of fiscal years. The total settlements, this is a good gauge to show where we're going to be looking at in the future. So a compromise and release completely releases out a claim. So with that settlement, you're not going to keep paying for that claim after it's settled. With this stipulation, that's where that future medical treatment is awarded. So we try to do whatever we can to do a compromise and release to settle out that future medical so we don't have that liability staying on the books. And then I also included, I know it's small with those 3 take-nothings or dismissals, but those are really hard to accomplish in workers' comp. It's a liberal system, so anytime we can get a judge to award that the claim was not work-related, we get pretty excited about it. So those 3, though they are small, they are mighty. So our next is our closing ratio, and again, we like to see this, over 100%, because that means however many we're receiving, we're able to close more than what we're getting in, and that helps keep our inventory low. Also, through doing those compromise and release settlements where we're able to resolve some of those claims that are staying on for that future medical award, we're able to reduce that inventory. And so I am really excited to see that number. It's at its all-time low of 109 total claims, and I don't think it's ever been that low in the years that I've worked with the county. So that's really exciting.
Which has been how many years?
Since 1993. So this exciting news right there. So the next few charts go through the types of injuries that the county is seeing. And as I mentioned before, those cumulative trauma claims, those are claims where you can't pinpoint exactly when it happened. Like say a slip and fall, you can see when it happened. But with the cumulative trauma, it's something that occurs over time. So those claims are expensive, and they are coming in more frequently. And again, this is happening throughout the state of California. It's a huge issue right now. And with that, we're seeing, the low back injuries, the knees, shoulders. For the multiple body parts, I don't know if you can see on the chart, but the higher that orange line is above the gray column there, those are your more expensive claims. So generally with the cumulative trauma, it's usually my shoulder, elbow, wrist kind of thing. So it's usually multiple body parts that are injured with a cumulative trauma. So we do see those as pretty expensive. The nature of injury, again, strains are always the top, followed by that cumulative trauma, which is consistent with what we're seeing statewide. For the occupation, it goes based on definitely how active their job is. So we see deputy sheriff as number one for both frequency and severity. So these are the top 10 departments for the county based on the severity. So no surprises at all with looking at this, because we have with Sheriff's Department, we have the presumption injuries. We also have 4850. So there's a different level of workers' comp benefits for public safety. So no surprises with that. And then I just go through the average, and this just helps me see where we're at. The state average, I couldn't believe it, is $76,000 for an average workers' comp claim. $76,000, which is crazy. So again, I like to see it about $23,000 for Northern California. So we're pretty in line there with our averages. And again, this is just really simple math. I just divide the two numbers to come up with the average. So there could be a large claim that skews those numbers to make the average a little bit bigger. I like to play Monday morning quarterback. So I put in the top 10 claims that have happened over the past 5 years. And this is a way that we could look and see, well, what happened? Why was there something that we could do to prevent the injury? Why is the claim more expensive than our average type claim? And so a lot of these are the presumption injuries or with the Sheriff's Department. And so in looking at these, unfortunately, there's not a cure for these. There's not any real safety measure that we can put in place to prevent these types of injuries, but I think it's still a good idea to look at that, to look at every claim to see if there's a way that we can mitigate those or prevent those. Best case scenario, prevent. Any questions about the 5-year trending?
Any questions? Public comment?
Hi, good morning. David Goldenberg, candidate for Supervisor District 1. A couple of questions on slide 5, I think it was. It showed recovery year by year. I was just curious. It looked like this last year was the lowest, and I was just wondering, is there a reason why there wasn't as much recouped back? It seems to be going down.
Sorry, wasn't sure if I was okay to answer. So recoveries depend on how much, like for excess recovery, so that's where the county's self-insured, but they also have an excess layer, so if they spend over a certain amount of money, the excess carrier reimburses. So it just depends on how much over that layer they have spent to receive the excess reimbursement. And also same thing if there hasn't been any third-party claims, which we don't like to see those, but we can obtain recovery on third-party claims as well. So it just depends on if there was a claim that would meet that
Okay, thank you.
reimbursement.
And second, oh, I'm
Speak
sorry,
real
yes.
quick, Dave. So just so everyone understands, for workers' comp, the county pays the first $300,000 of every claim. So most claims don't go over that amount, which is why the excess insurance doesn't typically reimburse, because we are self-insured for the first $300,000 per claim.
Okay,
Okay.
good. The other question I had is, and I know, fire wasn't listed, but under the county contract, with CAL FIRE, does the county ultimately, if there's firefighters injured on a county incident, does the county ultimately pay those worker comp costs? And if so, are you tracking numbers on that?
So directly, the answer is no. However, I would assume CAL FIRE factors that into their contract. We pay for county volunteers. We do not pay for CAL FIRE staff that are working in Tuolumne County when they're injured. That would be a state workers' comp claim injury.
Okay, so do you have numbers then on the volunteer firefighters?
Yeah, they're included in here.
Okay.
In the last, Lizzie, one in the last couple years, right? Yeah. Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay, any other public comment? So this is information only, right?
Information only.
Okay, so any comment from the board? Then
Thank you. That was
board
information.
direction to staff is go back to work. Okay. Okay. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 15? And yes, I know I've skipped 13.
This is consideration of awarding to Fibbin Construction Company to perform the work shown in the plans and bid book for the Buchanan Road Storm Damage Repair Project.
Good morning, Kim McFarland with Public Works, and I've got Blossom Scott Heim here as well. So this is about the work that we're doing over in Buchanan. Eventually, the storm event that happened February 2017 caused a pretty significant landslide. It actually knocked out most of the road, at least one lane of it. Roadway structure, approximately 110 lineal feet by 8 feet in width, was only passable down to one lane. Your board declared the storm event a local disaster on February 21st, 2017, and state and federal declarations of disaster followed, culminating in a presidential declaration. The county worked with Cal OES, FEMA, and I believe the California Disaster Assistance Act in order to get FEMA funding. And a letter of obligation and payment dated March 16, 2018 was received from Cal OES, memorializing the obligation of both FEMA and CDAA funds to this project. Work deemed eligible by FEMA and Cal OES would be reimbursed at the rate of 75% by FEMA, 18 3/4 by CDAA via Cal OES, and leaving a local match of 6 1/4. The engineering staff has hired Holdridge and Call geotechnical engineers along with Cal Engineering and Geology to produce geotechnical studies and engineering, which culminated in the bid documents. On August 6, 2019, your board approved the plans and bid book for the project and authorized issuing a call for bids, which was due Thursday, August 26, 2019. A total of 2 bids were received, one from Philbin Construction for about $395,000 and a second from KW Emerson for about $455,000. The engineer's estimate for the construction contract was $454,000, so that meant the received bids range between 87% and 100% of the engineer's estimate, so a darn good estimate. County Council has reviewed the bid proposal submitted by Philbin Construction and has determined that the bid documents are in substantial compliance with the call for bids. And just one thing before I make the recommendation, I wanted to let on that we have received some concerns from locals who live or have cattle out in the area. We don't believe that Philbin would actually go out into construction until about mid-October, allowing for folks to get their cattle off the land. But when they do actually go to work, because they're hoping to get this project completed before Thanksgiving, they will have closures much like the last time we closed Buchanan, where it'll be closed and then open for a period during lunch and then again in the evening, and it will allow for one-lane traffic only. So it is recommended that your board award to Philbin Construction the low bidder to perform the work as outlined in the plans and bid book.
Public comment? Bring it back to the board.
So I'd like to thank Kim. I did reach out to her because a number of folks had reached out, and there's a lot of multiple use activities. Gathering is commencing. We still have some vegetation, some timber coming out of that country, and so I appreciate the making sure that those activities will be primarily completed, not fully completed, and understanding the need to actually get this work done too before the rainy season hits again. So thank you for balancing that.
Okay. Any other board comment? Looking for a motion?
I'll move on staff recommendation.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 4-0. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 16?
This is consideration of accepting unanticipated revenue in the amount of $554,090.90 from the Federal Emergency Management Agency Assistance to Firefighters Grant for the purpose of self-contained breathing apparatus.
Go ahead.
Good morning, Andrew Murphy, Assistant Fire Chief.
Welcome back.
Thank you. We're very excited and happy to announce that the County of Tuolumne, through its fire department, Groveland Community Services District, and Jamestown Fire Protection District, who put in for this grant over a year ago, have been awarded the DHS, Federal Emergency Management Agency Assistance to Firefighters Grant in the amount of $554,090.90. The current inventory of what we call SCBAs was purchased and placed into service in 2006, and at that time met the current NFPA standards. However, due to the age of the equipment, repairs have become more frequent, and the cost sometimes exceeds the value of the equipment. Additionally, the cylinders, by law, have a lifespan of 15 years, at which time they can no longer be used. The county fire will be the administrator of this grant, which was a joint grant, as I mentioned, with the three agencies, and will purchase the compliant NFPA harnesses, masks, and cylinders. As you may be aware, SCBAs are utilized in atmospheres that are immediately dangerous to life or health, such as inside burning buildings, while extinguishing vehicle fires, or in other dangerous situations. These funds will be used to replace out-of-service SCBAs or SCBAs that will soon reach the end of their lifespan. This grant comes with a 10% match, which we figured in the current budget, and each of the parties will contribute their fair share of the match. For Tuolumne County, it's approximately $47,000. It's staff's recommendation the board approve this as unanticipated revenue.
Okay. Public comment?
Well, I'm very impressed, and I think the county should be excited, because when I went and got my fire station tour, I spent way too long in that room hearing all about it, this equipment and how expensive it was, and nobody had any money to pay for it. So kudos to you.
Okay. No other public comment. I would like to second that emotion. Okay. When you're in local government, the best money is OPM, other people's money. Thank you for going out, and all the team that helped with this and going out and getting this grant. So I think it's great. And Any other comments from the board or a motion, either one?
Well, this is one of those no-brainers, and I'm going to say I'll move on staff recommendation, and thank you. Thank you very much, Chief.
Yeah, and unanticipated revenue is always the best kind of revenue, so I second.
Okay. Got a motion by Supervisor Brennan, a second by Supervisor Campbell. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstain? 4-0. Okay. I'm going to consult with my CAO. My preference is to do the closed sessions now, as many as we can get done, report out before lunch, and then do the rest of the agenda this afternoon. Okay. Then in that case, would the clerk of the board read all of our closed session items?
They're all closed sessions. So conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation authority, Government Code Section 54969D2, 2 cases. Conference with the legal counsel, existing litigation authority, Government Code Section 5495569D2, D1. And this is County of Tuolumne versus Billy Realm et al., Tuolumne County Superior Court case number CV 62622. Public employee appointment, authority government Code Section 54957B1, and its Human Service Agency Director, Community Development Department Director, and Public Works Director. And then a conference with the labor negotiators, Authority Government Code Section 54957.6. County representatives are Tracy Riggs and Sarah Carrillo, unrepresented employee, Community Development Department Director, and also Public Works Director.
Okay. I believe we are going to report out on, is it 21 and 22 or 23 and 24? 21 and 22. Any other report outs anticipated? Okay, I am going to, I'm anticipating that we will do 21 through 24 first, and then we will do the others after that. So we will report out prior to our lunch break. Okay? So with that, public comment on any of the items, closed session items. Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and recess into closed session. And the Development Director, Department Director, and Department Head, and Ms. Kim McFarland has been selected to be our Public Works Director. And for the public's information, at 1:30 when we reconvene, we will be doing item number 13 on the agenda. And we have completed items 21 through 24 on the closed session. And after we do 13, we will be doing 17 through 20. So that's just for the public's information. And now we're going to break for lunch.
What time are you resuming?
1:30 is when we reconvene. Actually, there were only, they were the only two that interviewed, one per position. There was some other interest.
Sorry. To start it. So this is a presentation and consideration of providing staff direction on a draft resolution and ordinance for sales tax and transient occupancy tax measures.
Staff report.
All right, good afternoon, members of the board, Mr. Chair. Eric Earhart, County Administrator's Office. With me is Chris Schmidt from the County Council Office. So we're here to talk about the proposed sales tax and transient occupancy tax draft language.
I'm going to interrupt you just a second, okay? Just to comment on this, okay? The Board of Supervisors does not raise taxes, okay? The Board of Supervisors is one way to get a tax measure on the ballot. Taxes are approved by the public. So what we are talking about is, do we put a ballot initiative out there for the public to decide?
Correct, and this is that draft language that would support that.
Exactly. So thank you.
Yes. All right, so before we start, I'd just like to go over the mission statement. Here at Tuolumne County, we commit to providing exceptional public service that creates a healthy and safe community, exercises natural, cultural, and financial resource stewardship, promotes economic prosperity, and enhances the quality of life. So with that said, just to provide some background to the board as well as the public, during the 1920 budget process, we identified a shortfall of about $4.2 million that we needed to come up with. This was accomplished through significant reductions, mainly through restructuring of different departments throughout the general fund. During that presentation, your board also heard that there was a projected shortfall for fiscal year 2021 of about $2.7 million going forward. That is comprised of about $1 million in fixed PERS payments, some salaries and benefits that have already been negotiated for in contracts, the cost of opening the new jail, which includes staff as well as medical costs, and also the county facility payment to the new courthouse when it opens, which we believe may be somewhere around $200,000. So the problem going forward was still another $4.2 million. However, based on actions your board took this fiscal year, to pay off debt early, we're saving about $781,000 going forward in debt payments, and our IT director was able to identify another $700,000 that we will not need to pay next year as well. So that made our net shortage just over $2.7 million. But when we step back and look at the bigger picture, we have some other issues. We have, since 2008, since the recession hit, we've had deferred maintenance. Our facilities manager identified about $4.7 million in deferred maintenance that we have out there. That takes staff as well to manage those projects. So we're looking at about another $250,000 for facilities. Currently, the board's policy is to establish reserves at about 5% of the operating budget, or for this year it'd be $4 million. We're about $2 million shy of that. The question we have to ask ourselves is, when the next recession hits, is $4 million going to be enough to get us through without making significant reductions in our general fund? Just like this year, we're looking at another $500,000 for the contract with CAL FIRE, and another $700,000 for equipment as well. So we're back up another $8 million in expenses going forward. Some of the things we don't know: capital improvement projects. When we leave the current courthouses and we repurpose those, we will have to make them ADA compliant and do some other changes. We don't know what that'll cost. We have 2 bargaining groups that their contracts expire this December, and the rest of them will expire by the end of the fiscal year 2021. We don't know what that'll cost. If PERS does change the amortization schedule from a 30-year to a 20-year, that'll impact the budget as well. We don't know what that cost will be. So we have some significant costs moving forward, already identified, $8 million just here, and we don't know what the rest is going to look like. So with that said, staff did have a public polling completed, and your board heard the results of that public polling back on September 3rd. The questions asked to the public were, would they support the increase of a sales tax in the unincorporated area of Tuolumne County from 7.25% to 8.25%, and would they support the increase in the TOT from 10% to 14%? And the results showed there was support for both of those measures. As a result, your board directed staff to come back with resolutions for both of those, to place both of those onto the ballot in March. And just as a reminder, The draft language that you have before you today is based off of the language that was used in the polling measures. So as we move forward, some of the options is we could move forward with the revenue measures that were presented to you today. We could not move forward at all, or we could consider some other modifications or combinations, such as increasing the sales tax or proposing to the voters an increase in sales tax by 1.25% for a total of 8.5%. And just as a reminder of the current 7.25% that we receive, only 1% comes back to the county. The rest stays with the state of California. An increase in TOT by 2% as opposed to the 4%, bringing the total to 12%. Making these changes would reduce the overall revenue that was projected originally during the polling measure, but we would have to go back to our county auditor to find out what that would actually look like. As a reminder, the timing for this, if we want to get it on the March 3rd ballot, we would have to have the first reading on November 5th, and with the second reading being November 19th, and the adoption of the ordinance would take place then as well. We're here today to get any feedback from your board on what you'd like to see, so we have time to make any modifications or changes to the current language that's presented today. So the recommendation is to provide staff with direction on the draft resolutions and ordinances presented for increase in sales tax in the unincorporated areas of Tuolumne County from 7.25% to 8.25%, and an increase in the transient occupancy tax in the unincorporated areas of Tuolumne County from 10% to 14%, and to extend it to recreational vehicle parks and campgrounds. So with all that said, do we have any questions?
Any questions before I open it up to public comment? Okay, public comment. Or elected staff comment.
I just want to clarify one thing. Of the 7.25% sales tax that we pay, 1% comes back to the county's general fund, but that 0.25 does come back to the county of Tuolumne, but for public transportation. So it doesn't stay at the state. It does come back, and that is what helps fund all the buses that you see around here, or some of the money that Darren uses for other projects. Just to clarify, absolutely does not come to the general fund. You absolutely have no control over it, but it does come back for public trans.
Thank you for the clarification.
Can I ask Deb a question real quick?
Sorry.
Deb, if it were to be voted in, the 1% extra, would that complete 1% stay in Tuolumne County?
And it would stay in the general, the way that it's going to be written, or the way that it's going to be proposed to be written, it is a general tax, and it will come back into the general fund and be used for any of the services the general fund provides.
Right, the entire 1%.
The entire 1%. The state will take out a little admin fee, but they take out a little admin fee now.
Yes, sir.
Hi, good afternoon. Chairman Woodford, member of the board. David Goldenberg, candidate for District 1 Supervisor. So a couple of questions. The $4.7 million deferred maintenance, is there a publicly available list to see what that covers?
We don't have one at this point, no.
So if you don't have one, how'd you arrive at the figure?
That was provided by our facilities manager.
Presumably they had some basis?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Well, no,
it's not available. I'm sure we can get one made available if we need to. Okay. That was a total, most likely off that the facilities manager put together for this presentation. So I don't think it's itemized. It's just an aggregate.
Okay. So my
Tracy,
understanding.
I'd just like to clarify. So actually, Ed Hogue, our facilities manager, he keeps an ongoing list. I just had not been provided that list. It had gone to his department head in the past. So this was not actually provided just for this. It's one that he keeps. We just became aware of it. It was a working document. It's an internal staff working document. It's not something that we have put out for public, no reason of hiding it, just an internal document.
And it's
Okay.
based on what he sees and what he's been tracking over the years. So as we have had these budget issues, like we might do at home, you don't do the new roof because your annual income is less. You pay your rent, you pay your utilities, you pay for food. That's what's been going on here, is we've been doing things to keep our services going and not necessarily always being able to concentrate on our facilities.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's just if you're asking potential sales tax increase and the TOT, right now, my understanding is the sales tax would bring roughly 4.6 million. The TOT, if that increase happened, would be 2.4, so that's 7 million. You're showing 2.7 million as your deficiency, and then you've got these projects, but that would only be like the first year. So, I mean, the first year you'd have $4.5 million extra dollars. So what happens every year after that with that extra, 4.3 million, I'm sorry. I mean, it just seems if you're asking for a 1% might be a little bit high. I think you're running the danger. On the TOT, I guess I have a question there. The TOT, has that been discussed with the Visitors Bureau and the Hotel Motel Association?
So I did have an initial meeting with Lisa Mayo, and I have a meeting again with her and one of her representatives from her board tomorrow morning.
Okay.
So they are aware of it, yes.
Okay. I attended one of their meetings recently, and it was back on the 19th, and they said they hadn't been contacted at that point, so they were a little upset about that. Thank you.
Well, I just say that I think it's really crappy when you put it on the agenda as item number 13, and people were here this morning, and now it's 1:42, and it turns out to be item number 25. So there isn't anybody in this room except the usual cast of characters, and I don't think that's really fair to the public.
It should be noted, these are coming back to your board for 2 meetings in November.
Exactly. Okay. And it may be item 13, but there were also appointments intervening, and appointments do take priority on the agenda. So we try to have the appointments at the time that they're scheduled, and we also have staff that we're waiting and need to get back to work. So there's competing priorities. I'm not saying all of those take precedence over the public, but our agenda frequently gets jumbled up. So, and I did announce that we were doing this at 1:30. Other public comment? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the board. And since I've been ignoring him because John has not been poking me in the ribs all day, I'm going to start with Ryan Campbell.
Yeah, I had a question for staff. So we're talking about 2 measures here. Can they be combined on the ballot as one measure, or they have to be separate? One sales tax measure and one TOT measure, and what is and as I believe that's the case, what's the risk of voters choosing one or the other and then both failing?
They are going to be independent questions on the ballot. They need to be independent questions. So if one doesn't pass the other and the other does, the other would stand independently.
So as far as the risk factor, if you recall during the presentation that was given previously on the polling, it showed that there was some influence on the TOT by putting them both on the ballot, or actually asking the sales tax question first and then the TOT, but it was not a significant impact based on the results of that public polling.
Mm-hmm. So I guess the question I'm getting at is, according to the polling, were both measures independently likely to succeed, or both measures appearing on the same ballot going to succeed on their own merits or in combination as 2 separate measures?
So the sample was split, and for half of them, they would ask the sales tax question first, go through the process, and then they would ask the TOT tax and see the impact it would have on that. And then vice versa, the TOT first and the sales tax. And the initial results that showed that there was 60% support for for TOT, and then 65% for the sales tax. Once the arguments were made, there was still 65% support for both at that point. So they were asked independently, but with a follow-up.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm not trying to put you on the spot here, but have we looked into kind of what's the average TOT and sales tax statewide, and then have some way of looking at what counties of our population and general geographic make up? What are the averages there?
I don't know what the statewide average is. I do know that we are one of the lower, not only in the region, but in the state on the TOT. For TOT, and I believe also for the sales tax. That might be something better for our
We are the lowest sales tax because we have no additive sales tax.
Correct.
On top of the basic state sales tax.
Correct.
And in doing some research for this, I noticed that there are a lot of counties that have like a 12% TOT as their base TOT, but then on top of that they have hospitality fees. They have other fees that, when included in that 12%, equals 14 or 15%. And there aren't too many counties that have just a straight across the board 14% TOT. Are there any options there where we can look at, rather than just have a straight down the line 14% transit occupancy tax, we have 12% tax with a 1% fee for fire-related issues, and then a 1% fee for all other public safety issues, or something of that nature. Has that been looked at, or
So
it's a model that I've noticed with a lot of other counties?
So I believe in a lot of those areas, some of those are district fees. So if they fall within a district, they're collecting the fees for that. A lot of those are earmarked for specific, it's like for fire or public safety, which makes it a special tax, which would require the 2/3 vote. So we did have some of those discussions early on, but these were the two that were presented to the public.
Yeah. And then the last question I have is, there's no, have we looked into having any kind of district divisions to how TOT is applied, or we're just looking at complete across the board for the county? Because that's another element that I've noticed with some of the other counties that have somewhat higher TOTs, is that they will have portions of their county that are the more touristed areas will have the highest TOT, and then I guess the implication is to kind of grow those parts of the county that are not do not have as much development.
So is your question have we looked at creating a district for like a tourist district and then assessing that? We have not looked at that, no.
Okay. Yeah.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay. Supervisor Kirk?
All right. So at the last board meeting, I was frustrated, and rightfully so. The state has a surplus, $21 billion. There's actually more than that, but that's what's out there. I'm off the campaign trail. I've met with thousands of constituents. People in this community a lot of the constituents in this community live on fixed incomes. And on top of that, we have healthcare costs going up, fire insurance is blowing through the roof. So the initial idea of, do we want to raise taxes? I think a lot of us on this board don't feel that. But the discussion today is, do we want to allow this to go forward, to let our constituents have a say in the matter by voting? I'm conflicted in a couple areas, because the poll that we received said that there was support, but then there was another poll that said there wasn't support. I guess I'll shut up now. And so I really want to let the constituents have a chance to weigh in and cast their vote. And from my understanding, because there's a general election coming up, it's not going to cost really much of anything to put this on the ballot and allow the constituents to do that. But I can't go to bed at night in clear conscience without, I know there's some supervisors who I respect the hell out of on this board who've been around and been doing this a long time, and they have a lot of wisdom and a lot of insight on the processes, and I want to tap into the processes moving forward. But I also want to bring, my maybe some inexperience, but just my approach of, we met with the commissioner's office and we said we have an issue, and he didn't think we did. And lo and behold, we got him to come out and meet with the communities, and he's going up and down the state. And, I know he doesn't have a lot of authority, but we're getting the issue out there. I know RCRC and CSAC, some of these rural county issues that we're bringing to the table. But I really want to set up a meeting, and I've been trying since I got elected. I've been emailing Gavin Newsom's office once a month. At first, it looked like I was going to get a meeting, and then they kept blowing me off. I don't know if collectively as a board we could try and set up a meeting with his office to present our budget, to present the fire issues that we're having, the insurance issues that we're having with our roads. The constituents, in my mind, they want fire service and they want roads addressed. And for me to support this going to the public, I just wanted, in my heart, is to do everything that I can as a supervisor to present our issues to the governor. We have a new governor who's in office. We have new people in place, and I don't think it's going to hurt, and it would make me feel a lot better if we just would present this as our county to them so they start that conversation, basically. So what I'm asking for as a supervisor is a few things. Can we set up that meeting? Can we discuss our budget, fire insurance, roads, fire protection? And, one good thing that we've been working on is this juvenile hall. We set up a meeting with CSAC. They came out, they reviewed our juvenile hall. There's good discussion coming about how we might be able to better utilize or fund that. It's a work in progress. But moving forward, I do want to support letting our constituents have a say in the matter. But in the meantime, I'm going to do everything I can, and I'm just looking for maybe board support, not to undermine some of these other committees that we have going on in CSAC and RCRC. But I got elected as a supervisor to utilize my voice and my position in the seat to do all that I can, and I don't necessarily want to be contingent on these other organizations. I'm here to do my job, and I'll feel a hell of a lot better if I can go after that meeting and have that conversation, at least as a starting point moving forward. So if I can be given that opportunity and some support for that, then I full-heartedly think, based on those polls, I have mixed reviews. I really want to let the people have a say in what they want to fund, and that's kind of my opinion moving forward.
Okay, so I absolutely think there's certainly nothing wrong with it, and I think it's a good idea to try and set up a delegation of a couple supervisors and the appropriate staff to try and set a meeting in the next, well, certainly before any election where a ballot initiative would be on it, but hopefully maybe even before we get to the point where we have to, if the governor's receptive, and I don't know that it actually needs to be with him, but some senior member of his staff, somebody that actually sees him every day, okay? But if they're receptive to that and we can do it, I'd like to have it happen before we make a final vote on the 19th. Probably not possible, but
I just want to remind you that it took us over 6 months to get an appointment with the commissioner.
So we'll try and do our best. So I would support that. I don't know.
Yeah, can I speak to that?
Sure,
real
please.
Quickly, because I actually appreciate Supervisor Kirk's comments on this, and I was listening last time because I think all of us are really reluctant to suggest some form of tax increase for a lot of the constituents that we know out there will have some challenges, and at the same time it will be the public's decision. Under reports, I'm going to speak to a group of supervisors. We met at RCRC, and I know your frustration. The first year I was a supervisor, was we're going to go up there and we're just going to keep knocking on the door, and he's going to have to open the door, and he's going to have to listen to us. Then Governor Brown. And we just spent a lot of time. We spent a lot of resources. We spent a lot of staff time. We wrote a lot of letters. And then we started figuring out that if we got a group of us together and we all moved in the same direction at the same time, we realized tremendous success with tree mortality, and that was really our first experience of getting 6 or 7 counties to all do a declaration at the same time. And we had a meeting we were in with Wade Crowfoot within, I think, 2 weeks. And so I think there is some strategic ways that we move some of these conversations forward, and they are very important conversations, and they're important to all of our rural counties. And I would like to talk a little bit more about that offline and a meeting that I will report on under reports that we had at RCRC that really kind of gets at some of these concerns. So I am in favor of moving that forward. Having said that, I have to rely on the experts, because I think I have some concerns on the timing of putting both of these on the same ballot, and it becomes an either-or situation and not both. And I am really concerned about that. The experts have told us that. Eric, as you've said, they both rose to 65% when we had the explanation. We didn't even touch on what we're going to need in the way of roads, and I remember Supervisor Royce always saying $1 million a mile. I think that was his comment. And there are just a lot of pieces that the public is going to have to consider when they're looking at these. So if I'm relying on the experts and they say that both measures on the ballot at one time, the public will be looking at them. Again, I'm just going to say I have some concerns, and I'm leaving that to the professionals at this point. The other piece, in talking, because I would really actually have talked to numerous folks in our recreation industry, and I think they recognize that they've got to be part of this solution. I think there's a lot of conversation, though, what is the equitable part of the solution? And again, trying to figure out what is that balance place. And if we said that we were at 12%, is that something that the industry would find is equitable? And I would rather find partners in the community that are willing to be part of a potential solution and not just be arguing against, because they're worried about the equity. So I'd like to hear what my fellow supervisors think of the 12% TOT versus the 14%.
Supervisor Campbell, you had to come back.
Yeah, just well, not a comeback. I had a question I forgot, but yeah, just kind of going to the subject matter that we're on right now. Our obligation, first and foremost, is to provide for the health and safety of the residents in Tuolumne County, and we have to find a way to do that. And with what we have in the budget this year, this fiscal year, and what's projected, costs projected, I don't see that those things are going to match anytime soon. In fact, they're going to get worse. So we have to find some kind of solution to this. And so that's our first responsibility. The next responsibility we have is to make sure that revenue sources that we do go after are done in a way that's fair, and that we have the information available for all of the residents to see how we came to that conclusion, that it's not just, an arbitrary tax that's being levied on people just because, we can't manage our money right, and so there's not enough left over at the end of the day, which is not the case. And to that end, what I'd like to see, in the way of staff direction on this is have a list of all the transit occupancy taxes in all the counties in California, and where does Tuolumne County currently lie on that list, and where would we be if this 14% is passed. Same with the sales tax. Where do we lie? I imagine we're probably at the bottom of that list in terms of sales tax. But it would be good to be armed with that knowledge going forward, where exactly we are on that scale statewide. And then once we do that, we can look at how are rural counties generally structured with these two revenue sources, and how are counties with tourism, And then the one question I had that I forgot to bring up is there a way to increase these taxes incrementally, or once they're put on the ballot, do they have to immediately go into effect, or can you have a transit occupancy tax that increases 1% a year for 4 years? And same with sales tax. Can we have it go up a quarter penny a year for 4 years? Because that might be more palatable.
I'm not so sure about sales tax. We're coordinating with the state CDTFA on the ordinance in ballot language. With TOT, it may be practical. It would just have to be very clear in the ballot materials in question what those rates would be and when they would go into effect. I think where we get into trouble is when things are left to question or ambiguous. It can raise challenges. So it would just take a bit more research and drafting to see what those options might be. But probably TOT more likely than sales tax.
I mean, is there a precedent for that, for having it done a little bit at a time over time? Because the way I see it, the more important issue is that some kind of revenue measure is passed, not that we're trying to solve our immediate, revenue issues.
As far as other counties, I would have to check.
Yeah.
Versus coming back to the ballot. That may be another solution to that when another increase is necessary, come back at that time for another increase.
Yeah.
So.
And the last question I have is, we've just some of these other ideas. Our contract, I guess, has ended with the polling firm. So any kind of we wouldn't be able to do any more polling at this point, would we? Without
the contract
having another
is
contract.
complete.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Supervisor Kirk.
I think your question was specific to the percentages and fairness, right? Well, so I said a lot, but there's a few more things to say. Yeah. The 10% to 14% is a 40% jump, which is a big jump when it comes to an increase. Palatable, again, I think a lot of us up here aren't for taxes, but if somebody's looking at two options, it makes sense to me. I like Supervisor Campbell's idea of can the TOT be done incrementally if it was approved? That would be a good answer to have. But if we're talking about sustainability, tourism is our number one money-making industry in this community, and I would hate hate any tax increase, but I especially hate to do a 40% towards that industry. I think if you did instead of a 1 or you made the 1 a 1.25, and then you made the TOT a 12%, I think it's a better balance. It still gives the tourism industry to help offset some of the costs for law enforcement and fire, but it also gives a little bit more ownership of people who live here to actually, that extra 25, instead of going from 1 to 1.25. So I'm talking about a 1.25 and then a 12%. I think as a constituent, that's a little bit more palatable. I think it might give it more success, but again, this is just my opinion. But I would really hate to hurt the tourism industry. And I know everyone thinks, you show up here and you don't pay it, or you pay it and you forget about it. But I'm telling you right now, I went to Alameda County 5 years ago, and I don't know how much crap I paid for at the end of that bill, but I will never spend another night in Alameda County because of all that stuff I had to pay for. So I don't want to go down that road. I want to keep tourism healthy here. I want to keep people coming back. And so if we're talking about a fairness in this, to me that seems a little bit more palatable. I don't know how everybody else feels, but to me the 40% jump in TOT, it kind of jumps out at me. So
Okay, so I'm going to, I guess, go last. First of all, your math is both right and it's wrong, okay? It is a 40% increase in your TOT tax. It's a 4% increase in the hotel bill, okay? It just depends on how you look at it, okay? And I appreciate your comments about Alameda, okay? One of my hobbies requires me to travel quite a bit throughout the state. And I would hate for somebody from Alameda County to be listening to this and think that we think they're the worst county in the state of California, because I've been to Los Angeles County, San Diego County, Monterey County, City and County of San Francisco, and any number of other places. And the laundry list of stuff that's tacked onto your hotel bill is equally long in every single one of those, okay? And TOT is not the only thing that's tacked onto the bill here in Tuolumne County either. There is a tourism fee that goes to directly to Visit California, okay, the California tourism industry. There's any number of things. I figured somewhere between 20 and 25% is tacked onto every hotel bill that I've paid for. And people are used to that, okay? I honestly don't believe that 2% is going to change anybody's visitation plans into anywhere. And wherever they would go, I just don't see it. But having said that, I'm not a fan of tax increases in general. So, but I think I think there are some things that we need to, we need to have for an equitable consideration by the board. And so I've listened to my colleagues. One, I do want to draft up a letter, and if the board members are willing to allow Tracy and I to work on the language of that letter, we can get it out before the next board meeting. Or if you want to see the language and review it, then we can bring it back as an agenda item on the next board meeting. That's your folks' choice. I do think that we do need to have a good list of TOTs for all the counties in California. I think it's going to be illuminating, having traveled in a bunch of those. We are not at the top. 14% would put us pretty close to the top, but we're not at anywhere near the top right now. I would also like to see that for sales tax, okay? And I want to see those things, not because I don't know what they are. I want to see them because I want our public to know what they are. I want them to know what we're putting on the ballot for their consideration, okay? I think we also, when we come back, we need to have a clear definition of why this board thinks it's important to give the opportunity to our citizens to help us increase our revenues, okay? I want to see a pretty, not a line item detail, but if we don't get these, what are the likely fallout of not increasing our revenues? As I've said before, the rate of our cost of doing business is going up at a steeper slope than the rate of our revenues. If we don't increase revenues, we will continually be decreasing or degrading our services to the public. I will take very serious issue, and I'll be glad to have a public debate with any individual of the public that thinks that we're not managing the money as best we can. Okay? This county, since I have been a supervisor, has faced a $4 to $6 million budget shortfall in every budget drill we've done. I don't know how many times we've had people standing at the podium begging us not to close libraries or recreation. We have a certain level of demand for services in this community. Those services cost money. Okay, that's just the very real reality of the situation. Real reality. I'm repeating myself. But my point is, we do have a problem, and we need to be able to paint that revenue problem with some precision, okay? Not, like I said, not a line item level of detail, and I'll be glad to work offline with the staff on what that might look like. And any other board member can do the same, okay? But I do think that we need to show what the problem is that we're trying to solve, okay? And then I do want to see some options, and from what I've heard, and I've met with some of the same people that others have, and their concerns. I've met with some that you might not have, and I'm sure you've met with some that I haven't. But I would like to see the trade space between a 1.25 or a 1% and 1.25 and a 14% and a 12%. That's one I'd like to see. Okay. I'd like to see what it would look like for a phased-in approach for both of those options. Okay, for specifically TOT. I'm not so concerned about the sales tax, but if we do choose 14%, what would it look like going, let's say, going to 12% for a year or two and then going to 14%? What would that mean? There's no question, though, in my mind that if we don't solve our revenue challenges this in one of these ways, okay, whatever, that we will have to look at other ways of doing it. And there are other options out there as well. Most of them go to the ballot, but I'm going to feel a lot less. I don't want to say concerned, because I won't feel less concerned. But when, well, I'm not going to go there. If we want to maintain our services and the quality of our services, we have to address revenue. So that's, again, what I'm looking for to come back. Again, we are not going to vote today, tomorrow, next week, next month, as a board, to raise taxes, okay? We have a revenue problem we're trying to solve, and we're going to give possibly, we may choose to propose a solution and see what the public thinks about it. That's what we're trying to do here. So are there any other pieces of information or options or anything else that you guys would like to see coming back?
I just want to clarify, you said the letter, is that a letter to request?
A letter to the governor to request to meet with him or his immediate staff to discuss financial challenges in rural communities, specifically ours.
So before we do that, we can go through some of those items that I brought up about. Okay.
Sure.
And then, just because of my experience, writing a letter or an email once a month, can we do some follow-up, some phone calls, or whatever Tracy did with the insurance?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. That's our standard way of doing business. Anything that I missed on the direction to staff?
And then just finding where we rank statewide on
Yeah.
TOT and sales tax.
That's coming back, yep. I did include that, right?
Yes, so just for
Okay.
clarification, staff will come back on the 15th of this month to present a list of the TOT and sales tax throughout the state and showing where Tuolumne County ranks. What it means if we don't fix the revenue problem that you discussed, and seeing the difference between the 1% and 1.25% and the 12 to 14%, and what a phased-in approach looks like for the TOT.
Yeah, and you can do those independently and dependently, okay? In other words, if instead of, the starting point in my mind is what was the staff has proposed basically today, which is 14% for TOT and 1% for sales tax. Okay. Well, what would it mean in terms of revenue loss of potential revenue? You pick the issues, passability or whatever of the measure. Just do the whole trade space analysis. If we went from, instead of 14%, we went to 12%. And then what if we offset that by going from 1% to 1.25%? And Supervisor Brennan?
Yeah, on the TOT, I would like to see TOT plus the other applicable taxes. I know the city of San Francisco, I believe their TOT is at 10%, and then when you add in all of the other taxes, they're up around 19%.
We'll try to find what other,
I
in
just
addition
wanna
to
be
TOT,
clear.
what other fees that they might charge.
Thank you.
I just want to weigh in, if I could, Supervisor.
Sure.
Your sales tax we can find, I already have a website, I'm getting ready to email it to you, that has a list with what they are by county and by city. What I'm finding is that the counties are lower because they have all of these incorporated cities that have a higher tax rate than the county, and you'll get those here shortly. The other thing is, though, for TOT, there is not one location that we can go to get all of those. Every single county has different, that means my point being, I don't know that I can get this done for you by the 15th.
I bet Lisa can get it for you.
Possibly. Not if she can do all the other counties like we did, and all of their additions. So that's my concern, and it varies by city as well. So as I'm just looking in here, every city has different rates, every county has different rates, and then there's all those additions that can get added on, and
And I just want to chime in too. So I know that your board is interested in incrementally phasing this in. So we need to do the legal research to make sure that legally we can do it that way. And then, of course, how to make it, if we can, how to make it a clear question on the ballot so that the constituents are not confused by it. And that could take some time. And just as a reminder, and I know your board knows this, but for the public, we have until December 6th to pass an ordinance which requires a first and a second reading. So we definitely need to be coming back on the 15th. I just don't know that we can have all of the information for you on the 15th, which means then we're likely going to need some special meeting to look at some of this information so that you meet your deadline if you're interested in placing it on the ballot.
Okay,
because there's no board meeting the first week of December, just so
Yeah,
I
so-
know you know that.
So do your best to get the information we've asked for. Come back with what you can provide. And if that's not enough, then we can consider a special board meeting. But we are marching to a clock. Because honestly, if we don't get it on the March ballot, it won't affect next year's budget. And if we don't get it on the March ballot and we want to affect next year's budget, your elected auditor controller elections official will be at my throat because it's going to cost a lot of money to have a special election. And we don't want to do that. So we do have a little bit of a stopwatch time in us here. Okay? Any other comments on the board? Great.
I'll say one more thing, because I think it's important. Like I said, the constituents want law enforcement, fire, roads, and I think, for our last budget, we tripled the amount of money that we put into fire. So I think as we move forward with this, it's important for constituents and for me and to remind myself, and as long as I'm on this board, as long as I have the money to do it, I'm going to continue to fund those things. And even though it's a general election where a lot of people get afraid that if money were to come in, the transparency of money, I think it's important that they know where we have put money and where our intention is. That's why we have these priorities. And so I just think it's important that we highlight that moving forward if we're going to go down this road.
Thank you. Would the clerk of the board please read item number 17?
Reports.
Okay, I'm going to start with Supervisor Campbell.
Do you want, so no reports from the CAO or the...
Oh, that's right, I forgot them. You have a report?
Last week, I actually was a co-chair for my association, the CCBSA Regional 3 meeting in Stanislaus County last week, and it was very successful. We had a presenter. The clerk of the board from San Mateo County actually commutes from Patterson, California to San Mateo. But he does this because he works at home and he has authorization and legal authority to do digital signatures. So he gave a presentation on that, which was really informative and just another
Are you
step.
saying you're planning on moving out of county?
No.
Okay, just checking.
No. He does commute a couple days a week, but it was pretty incredible that he's able to work from home a lot too. That was it.
Thanks for the report. County Council, CAO, now Supervisor Campbell.
All right, I will take it away. That gave me some breathing room here. I can collect my thoughts. So I participated on the county's Housing Loan Review Committee, which is a program that helps folks with first-time home buying or renovations to existing homes. Does a lot of good in our community, and people can call our Community Resources Agency to get more information on those programs. That it's really great for low-income folks. I participated in a walk for suicide awareness. I believe this was the first one that's ever been held, and it was incredibly well attended. We had a lot of people starting in Courthouse Park and then walking through downtown Sonora to raise awareness of suicide and making sure that folks are at risk, that more people are educated to know the signs of folks that are in depression and risk of suicide to help prevent that. I'm happy to say that we have a new Firewise community in Tuolumne County. Ridgewood has established a Firewise organization, and they're some real good go-getters in that community. They're getting fire hydrants put in. They're getting community organization, trying to identify the areas of their area that that really need help with fire prevention, and they're taking on the task with a great deal of zeal. A lot of other things, but that will be my report.
Okay. Supervisor Kirk.
I'll make it quick. One of the highlights is we had some people from CSAC come out, and Supervisor Rodefer was there to the juvenile hall to check out our juvenile hall and some of the issues that we're dealing with locally and with funding and look at the program that it's providing. But it's just part of that, like I said, that discussion of trying to utilize that hall and it's in all the capacities that it may be able to be used for, but also more discussion about how we can get more funding and more regional support for that hall. So that was good. In my book, we're going to continue to push that issue. As I'm learning, things don't happen overnight, but I'm going to keep working that issue with Supervisor Rodefer and CSAC and just other meetings as well, but that's it for now.
Okay. Supervisor Brennan.
Thank you. It's been a busy couple of weeks, but I really want to focus in on the RCRC state meeting was last week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. During the general sessions, they had a couple of really good speakers, and I'm just going to call out two of them. They had Rob Curley there from the Spokesman Review, and he really was talking about print media. And I think a lot of us think that print media is important to our rural counties in particular, but we're losing them at a very rapid rate, and they're failing. And he was just such a dynamic speaker, but he talked about the need to reconfigure what print media looks like and remember what are the values in a rural county. Talked about how today a lot of the reporting is cynical, critical, and people just tune out, and how we can make stories relevant, whether they're on a national, state, or local level to the people that are reading the paper. Talked about the 5 Ps, and I thought they were great. It was passion, be practical, personal communication. He used the word playful because he said that it matters if we can laugh a little bit at ourselves, and then talk about what's pleasing in your community. And we have an awful lot of that here too. So he has a book. I got it. I think it's going to be a great read. And he had a outstanding message. And then the other one was Doug Griffiths, and he had 13 ways to kill your community. And again, just had a lot of information that is so relevant to what is happening in our rural counties. And he's the one who had a couple of books, and I know you can get those online. Aside from the general sessions, I wanted to mention that Supervisor Rotifer and I did meet with, we have a group of supervisors that we've met now a couple of times from El Dorado, Amador, Calaveras, Alpine, Mariposa, and then, of course, Tuolumne County. And we're looking at how can we have these conversations, how can we move some of these items forward at a regional level with the state, and a lot of them are pieces that actually the conversation that really started with the state insurance commissioner pushed with this group. And so we did come to some consensus that we want to draft. We're going to have the CAOs collectively work on a resolution, just stating that we're going to start there. It's kind of an easy place to start, but get a resolution that really will codify how, as 6 counties, where we have opportunity, we can move issues forward with a collective voice. And again, I would point to tree mortality because that was where we really became successful in getting that emergency declaration. And so at a regional level, I'm hopeful that we actually will see some pieces that are going to move because we all share the fire insurance issue, vegetation issues, ingress, egress issues, communication issues. A lot of our needs are similar, and collectively I think we're going to have a much stronger voice if we can get to a place where we can unify that voice. And also, when there are special projects, maybe bringing dollars back here as a region, we may find some more opportunity, much like Lake Tahoe has been able to do with the different counties surrounding Lake Tahoe working collectively together. The third thing I want to talk about, and probably just incredibly thankful to RCRC, is they had an announcement during the general session. This is an item that we've been working on for quite some time, but the formation of the Golden State Natural Resources, it's GSNR is going to be the acronym, but the hope is, and they are well down the road on this, is that they are going to be looking at how do we effectively deal with the biomass that is such a big problem and has no value in rural counties. And they're going to be investing and hopefully making investments regionally again on being able to do some product, really looking around the pellet industry, and has tremendous potential. But we have been talking about this, I know the 7 years that I have been actively involved, and even before that when I served on the California Farm Bureau Board, about the challenges of moving biomass, and yet that is the major component that we've got to get a handle on, and how it doesn't pay to get it off the landscape. We can't even get it from point A to our biomass facilities down the road. And so what is something that could bring a little more value so we actually can get this product off the landscape, get all this material off? And so we're going to hear a lot more about this in the future, but I personally want to thank RCRC for stepping up, and they are investing through Golden State Finance a tremendous amount of money in getting this project, getting through all of the analysis phase. So the other piece at the Board of Directors is there was a lot of conversation around AB5. AB5 was signed by the governor and will have an awful an impact on what it means to be a subcontractor and what implications that will have with different industries that are important to our counties.
Okay. So I guess it's my turn. I'll focus on three things. I'm not going to give you the laundry list, but on the 18th, I represented our county on the IRW, it's the Integrated Regional Water Management Authority Board meeting. The same day, I participated with Supervisor Brennan as well on a meeting on how we might, with several of our private partners and stuff, as well as our Visitors Bureau, on how we might enhance opportunities for local businesses to do agritourism in the county. I also attended our fire resiliency advisory group meeting, about the first third of it. It was well on its way to some good thoughts when I had to leave. On the 19th, I did tour our soon-to-be new jail with Sheriff Pooley. I appreciate the Sheriff's Department resources that helped me navigate my way around in there. It's really coming along. It's all buttoned up internally pretty much, and the walls are in and that sort of stuff, and I think we're well on our way to what looks to be a January. Is that right, Neil? January acceptance?
Right around there, yes.
Okay. He said right around there, yes. Okay, so somewhere in there. That'll be exciting, I know, for the Sheriff's Department, more exciting for our jail staff. They'll get out of that slum that they're in right now and into some real decent working conditions. And more, well, just as important, I won't say more important, but just as important, so will our incarcerants get into a better facility as well. And then I did something on the 25th, and I forgot to write it down. Just a second. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, pretty much the last half of last week, I was with Supervisor Brennan up at RCRC. And they have the most unbelievable way of printing an agenda that looks like I shouldn't even go. I mean, it looks kind of boring. And then you get there and they have fantastic speakers. And Rob Curley and Doug Greffis were both exceptional, and they dovetailed each other very, very well. I'm hoping that we can leverage some of their both of their experiences in this county. If you haven't, is it 13 or 11 ways to ruin your community? 13, yeah, 13 ways to ruin your community. If you haven't read that book by Doug Greffis, get it. Please get it from a local bookstore, not Amazon.com. But get it, okay, and read it. And when you're done reading it, if you agree with me, give it to every friend you got, okay? It really is how to build a good, cohesive community and improve quality of life in a community. And Rob Curley, the stuff that he's done with that newspaper up there, print media, and he is growing by leaps and bounds. His subscription, his print subscription, not his online subscription, his print subscription. And I'd invite you to check out his website, and I'm thinking about trying to figure out how to get a subscription to his paper down here. Not because I want to know what's going on in Spokane, but because I want to see what are really top-notch, and I'm not talking about rural county, because, by the way, folks, Spokane may be a city, but it's a rural county. What a top-notch rural, not even a rural, top-notch local newspaper really looks like and how it's managed and run. Some really good thoughts. So with that, I'm going to close out my reports, and with the clerk of the board, please read items 18 through 20.
These are closed sessions, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation authority, government code section 54956.9D2. It's 2 cases. And then conference with legal counsel, existing litigation authority, government code section 54956.9D1, County of Tuolumne versus Billy Rhyme et al., Tuolumne County Superior Court case number CV 62622, and public employee appointment, authority government code section 54957B1, human services agency director.
Okay, is there any public comment on any of these items? Okay, do we anticipate a report out? We do not anticipate a report out. So we are going to recess into closed session, and we will come back when we are concluded, and that will be the conclusion of our board meeting today, unless the clerk of the board tells me I've skipped something and haven't gone back to it. Okay, thank you very much.